Hey, what are you guys up to? Just starting this stream here, 2:30 a.m. here in Japan. I actually just hopped off the IG live and I said to some of you who had stopped by there that yes, I may hop on the YouTube, do a live stream here. So if you're watching this, recorded, you're coming later, you're not watching this live, obviously, people will drop in, ask questions as we move through. Let me see. I gotta make sure I look at the live chat this time so I can actually see people drop in, see some comments when they actually come through. Yeah, guys, what's going on, guys? What are you up to? You can just drop a yeah. Hey, what's going on, Ahmed? What's going on, DP? Meng, what are you guys up to? You can just drop USMLE cues. Yeah. We'll do USMLE cues. We're gonna start off that route, of course. Later on, we can obviously go to more like non-med personal shit, like we kind of did last time. But like right now, you can just drop some USMLE cues. What are you guys up to? What's going on, guys? DP, you're in your surgery core right now. Yo, Dr. Mike. You guys have USMLE cues? You guys have questions for USMLE? You got me right here. So I'll answer some USMLE cues if you got them. What are you guys up to? Monty, what's up, Mike? How you doing? How you doing? Doing fucking great, Monty. Yeah, Monty, I see you around sometimes in like the Telegram group chats. Appreciate you, dude. You've been active. Assad, what's going on, dude? Golazo, what are you up to? Golazo asks, just make sure the camera is okay here. Golazo asks, is getting 90% offline enough, or is getting 90% offline enough, or do I need to do online? Just what are you referring to? What are you talking about, Golazo? Are you talking about QBank right now? What are you talking about? Taj Sidhu says, I'm getting 60% wrong in blocks. So you're getting 40% correct. What should be my approach? How far are you through QBank, Taj? I've talked about how don't worry about your percentages while you're actually working through QBank itself. Like don't flip out about your actual percentages, because if you guys, whether you're getting like 30% in UWorld Amboss, right, or whether you're getting like 75, 80%, you're doing well in QBank. It doesn't really change our management necessarily in the majority of circumstances. Like we want you continuing through QBank. Obviously, you're going to do my PDFs. Obviously, you do my YouTube MCQs, the audio QBank, right, colloquially. But like those can boost your QBank percentages as you move through. I said I want you to do in QBank untimed tutor random, but then you can do my PDFs and YouTube questions subject specific. I've talked about that, but try not to flip out about your actual percentages in QBank. I just want to see you get through all of QBank, and then at the end you're going to do NBMEs, and that's how we'll actually objectively see where you are before we start to like trip out about your shitty percentages. Varun asks, hey doc, you to bomb. Thanks, Varun. What are you up to? Assad, a lot of emojis there. Ahmad Mubashar says, finished UWorld with low score. Should I take NBME or incorrects? How low is the score? And I would need to know when your exam is as well. Once again, I'm not concerned necessarily about your QBank scores. I just want to see how you go on the NBMEs. I've said that for step one, at least. You're going to finish QBank, and then you're going to do NBMEs 20 and 21 offline initially. And if you can break, let's say, 60% on those correct, then you can proceed through 22 to 24. So I want you to do 20 through 24, then free 120, then 25 through 31, generally 2 days per NBME exam. I come up with custom plans for people normally in that regard. But if you're, let's say you finish QBank and then you take NBMEs 2021, you get like below 60%. I don't want you wasting your time. I don't want you wasting NBMEs 22 through 24. I want you to just go back to QBank incorrects. That's what I prefer to see. Sometimes students aren't able to do that because they say, no, my school says, fuck you, I have to sit in like 3 weeks or something. If you're on like a tight time frame like that, so I'll sometimes just push you through the NBMEs, or if it's comp you have to sit, I'll just push you through. It really depends on the specific student. But for example, if you're just coming to me and you say, oh, I can sit the USMLE whenever, it doesn't matter, and you come out of QBank and you get like 56%, 54% on NBMEs 2021, I'll say, no, I don't want you doing 22 through 24 yet. We're going to go back to UWorld / Amboss incorrects. You're going to do all of those. Then we'll try NBMEs 22, 23. Okay. So let's see. Germa Lima. You never talk about doing UWorld wrong for CK. Well, that's okay. That's a good question. It's Germa, the reason, or Girma, the reason I don't talk about doing UWorld incorrects or embossing corrects for CK is because we have the CMS forms that I'm going to have you do twice. So the prescription for getting your scores up in around the 2CK assessments is going to be hardcore CMS forms. So for 2CK, you're not after you finish Amboss or UWorld. No, I don't want you doing UWorld or embossing corrects. I want you doing all the CMS forms. So 45 to 50 forms can take you 3 to 3.5 weeks if you're doing 2 forms per day. And then I want you doing NBME 6 through 8 offline. Then you're going to do a double pass of all the CMS forms. Holy shit. And then you're going to do free 120. Then you're going to do 9 through 13. So because all those CMS forms, right? I mean, it's a lot of fucking questions there. So we don't need UWorld or embossing corrects almost always. Okay, there's a time and place for that. Students who need extra remediation, or if you have the time, sometimes we can go that route. So Kogatam Livingstone. Hi, Mike. Yo, what's going on, dude? I think I saw you in my IG live, actually. Appreciate you. Dude. DP says using your PDF UWorld and wrong QID unlock and Anki Hub, getting 80s on shelf with just that. That's pretty good. Mosa Mustafa. Hey, Mike. Yo, what's going on, dude? Mosa Mustafa, where you at, dude? Golazo, NBME 27. Golazo, I don't have a memory for what your fucking previous comment was. You got to like keep me up on what you got to string it all in one comment right there. So Rami Samir says, short and sweet, what's a safe margin to be sure that I will pass getting 215 to 220 on NBME's 25 and 26 and still, so the equivalent score, of course, and still going through the rest left with 20 days. That's solid, dude. 215 and 220 is solid. You need to continue 27 through 31, as you know. You need to know the high yield arrows PDF. Okay, so definitely know my high yield arrows PDF. I've said cardio, pulm, renal, gastro, know those PDFs. And I want you, if you haven't already, I hardcore want you to memorize 20 through 24 and free 120. It's because you have 20 days. That's quite a bit of time. So I want you to, before you do NBME, so Rami, Samir, before you do NBME 27 through 31, before you touch those, I want you to go back through 20 and 20 to 24 and free 120, basically like blitz those forms. And you say, well, I just did them. Do them again as though you've never done them. Okay. Literally, I want you to like hardcore review, put the incorrects in Anki. I want you to hardcore know those questions. Then you're going to touch 27 and your scores will be higher. Okay. And you'll be getting like 230 or something. And you're like, obviously it's a pass fail step 1. So, I mean, just the larger the margin, the better. So that's what I want you doing. Marcos Rocha, how's it going, dude? I've seen you around. Appreciate you, dude. Marcos asks, can you please make a video on RH negative, positive, and Coombs test? Bro, I made videos on those, yeah. But you're right, I will make more on that stuff. Ahmed Elliman says, what do we do about weird questions that appear on NBMEs that aren't covered on PDFs and not in UWorld? Like NBMEs have some really weird questions. You're right. There's going to be left field questions regardless. And I tell people not to like stress about that sort of thing. Okay. Like, I mean, as far as left field questions are concerned, unavoidable. The worst thing you can do is like not know how basic hormones work, like not know high versus low aldosterone, SIADH versus DI, not know bicarb CO2 type questions, acid-base disturbances, but then you're going to like DM me about like Michaelis-Menten curves or like Lineweaver-Burke plot. Like, don't do that. I don't care about weird fucking questions on the NBMEs. Okay, I'm pretty like dismissive of that stuff. Ahmed, and that's because I don't want people to waste their time. Okay, like that's I've been there, done that. I used to be hyper gunner during the numerical step 1 era a decade ago, and I wasted a lot of time like focusing on minutia that like didn't matter. Ahmed Kebaiz. How's it going, dude? What are you up to? Ahmad, what are you up to? Says, hi, Mike. You helped me pass step 1. I took a break. Now I'm back and preparing for step 2. That's cool, dude. What'd you do over your break, Ahmad? You said you took a break. You travel. What did you do? Meng Hao Li says, Meng, you were the first in this chat, dude. You were the first in this chat. Meng says, what's the most efficient way of breaking down each question? If it's a short question, you don't have to break it down, quote unquote. If it's like literally a 1 or 2 liner, just read the question. Like obviously glance at the answer choices. That's like standard, but like just One or two liner, you can just like see the question, just answer it. If it's a long question, I made videos on that, obviously. That you let's say it's a like 10 fucking lines on top, all these lab values and stuff, and you're like, well, what do I do? The worst fucking thing you can do is is start from the beginning and say like a 23-year-old woman comes. Don't do that. Okay, so you're gonna glance at the answer choices. You're gonna glance at the last couple lines. Okay, sometimes they'll just say literally in the last line there's anti-Jo-1 antibodies present, so it's polymyositis, dermatomyositis. And meanwhile, the students like at the beginning reading the whole fucking thing, and I'm like, what are you reading right now? Like, it's clearly just polymyositis. Okay, so you can glance at the last couple lines, go backwards. Do you see a BUN to creatinine ratio? Do you see a CO2 bicarb? Do you see like sodium potassium, right? For like aldosterone questions, like, do you see anything in the lab values? And then you can glance up, into the paragraph kind of around. I go backwards. That's how I answer questions. Okay. So like if you were to like candidly send me a question like over the Skype or Zoom or something, we were like being doing questions. You're like, Mike, I have this like question from like NBME or Free 120 or something. Can you take a look at it? I'd be like, yeah, sure. So you send me the question and it's a long question. You'll notice what I do candidly. I'll go backwards. And then after like 5 to 7 seconds, you'll hear me say, you fucking serious right now? I got to read this. Okay. So if I can't get the answer after like 5 to 7 seconds, I get pissed off and then I'll actually start reading it from the beginning. Okay. So I never read questions from the beginning unless I literally have already like jumped around for 5 to 7 seconds and couldn't get it. So that's how you approach long questions. It's important to do that for 2CK. And I should just like reiterate that I don't employ this method as some sort of contrived procedural thing. I'm not saying like this is how you're supposed to do it. It's just, a decade of teaching, right? I mean, just doing questions constantly. That's what I've evolved to do. So, Foodies World, Foodies, how's it going? I've seen you on Instagram actually. USMLE CK, hi, osteoporosis topic. Tell us everything they ask us in NDME exams. Well, look, I mean, osteoporosis, you need to know compression fractures equal osteoporosis till proven otherwise. For example, they'll give you a patient who has pituitary adenoma and compression fractures in the vertebrae. That's all they'll tell you. They'll say pituitary adenoma, recent weight gain, compression fractures in two of the vertebrae. And they'll ask you for what the pituitary adenoma is secreting. So you guys watching this right now, okay? No, literally, you guys are watching this. I'm asking you, what hormone is the anterior pituitary secreting? So you have anterior pituitary tumor, patient has had recent weight gain, and there's some compression fractures in two of the vertebrae. That's all they fucking tell you. The answer is going to be ACTH. Okay. So, because ACTH increases cortisol and that's going to cause osteoporosis. Now, students are like, wait, but there's nothing about purple striae, central obesity, like nothing, buffalo hump, moon faces. Like they don't say that. But there's a question on Cushing disease and one of the NBMEs where you need to know compression fractures mean osteoporosis. Okay. So let's see, where the fuck was I in the stream here? Sometimes when you guys post, like it moves the stream on me. Let me see. Lurie Babarin asks, what kind of lab values are better to memorize for the step 1 exam? 100% mandatory. You need to know sodium, potassium, pH bicarbonate. You need to know hemoglobin. You should know calcium. Look, I mean, the thing with lab values, obviously you're going to have them on the exam, okay, as a crutch. But the training wheels have to come off at some point, okay? So especially when you do like 2CK material later on and you get long questions and stuff, if you're still on your training wheels and you don't know like basic lab values, like, that's not, you're not going to have time to answer longer questions, okay? So, Ray Faye Hassan asks, what resource do you recommend for anatomy? My high yield anatomy MSK rheumatology PDF under the free stuff tab. It's fucking ace. Okay. It's fucking excellent, that PDF. Okay. So I blitzed that PDF. Let me see. Aya. Hey, Aya. What's up? Aya Durizi. Aya Durizi. DZIRI. Aya, what are you up to? I have done with UWorld 6 months ago and your PDFs, then gap. You finished UWorld 6 months ago and your PDFs, and then you gap. What should I do? Well, when is your exam? There's a lot to talk about on that front. Like, when is your exam? Because after QBank, you should be going to the NBMEs. But if you have had a long gap after QBank and you haven't been doing anything, I'd want to know probably where you're sitting. So you could sit NBME 20, Aya. Aya is a Japanese name. Are you Japanese? I meet a lot of Ayas here. But that's I'd want you to do NBME 20 and see where you're sitting. And then if you do well on NBME 20, I would just say, well, you could sit in like a month. I'd move you through NBMEs 20 through 31, free 120. We'd have you sit in about a month. But if you do shitty on NBME 20, like under 60%, I'd be like, nah, like we got to go back to QBank right now for incorrects more than likely. So let's see. Damilare, Ion Beku. I'm literally butchering the fuck out of your names right now, like without a doubt. 3 weeks to TCK, please, what should I focus on? With 3 weeks left. And I would first ask if you've done, if like we were meeting over the Skype, for example, I would ask how much of Amboss or UWorld did you do? I'd say like, did you do all the CMS forms? Did you do them twice? Did you do NBMEs 6 through 13, including free 120? And I'd ask if you're able to move your test date, because if you're able to move your test date, even if your scores are decent, if you're able to move your test date and you haven't done all that material, I would just say you're postponing like a month, 2 months, because you'll get a higher 2CK score. And that's like 90% of your application competitiveness. So like, why wouldn't we just like maximize your competitiveness, right? So, but in general, let's say it should be the NBME content 3 weeks out. It should be, you should be on your second pass the CMS forms right now, and coming off the CMS forms, you should be doing free 120, then 9 through 13. That's how your final 3 weeks would look if I had everything. Like if I'm the one who drew up your schedule from the start. Ahmad says, "Thank you for everything." Thanks, Ahmad. EMB, eosine methylene blue, says, "Can you give some tips on being a good test taker?" Um, I've made videos on this, and I know some of you guys like have probably seen my videos on this, but I'd say when we talk about quote unquote being a good test taker, it's mainly not choosing weird sounding shit when you don't know. Okay. So sometimes the answer really is just asthma. Okay. Not fucking uh bronchiolitis obliterans organizing pneumonia. Okay. Like the answer literally is just asthma sometimes. So don't pick weird sounding shit. I observe that with students when they don't know and they're just hovering there, they'll choose a weird sounding answer, wrong fucking answer. Okay. So don't choose weird sounding shit when you don't know. The other thing is when you don't know an answer 100%, don't change your answer. That's really important. So if you're reading a question and you're like, sounds like entamoeba histolytica, sounds like entamoeba. I'm thinking entamoeba, and then you see giardia, and you like have a second thought. Wrong fucking answer. Okay, it's entamoeba. So those are the two things I'd say. Don't choose weird sounding shit, and don't change your answer when you're not 100% sure. Those are two easy tactics. Elon Musk asks, how would you suggest dissecting your high yield PDFs and converting it to Anki? I wouldn't recommend converting it to Anki, Elon Musk. I would suggest and I wouldn't suggest annotating into them either. I would just read my PDFs. That's all I would do. I've made YouTube clips on that. You don't need to annotate, just literally read. And if you say, well, I'm forgetting what I'm reading then, so what do I do then? I would say you just got to like read and maybe reread. Like, look, the FA era is over, but this is no different from like a decade ago when I was studying for STEP. Like I read FA 3 times a decade ago, and when the step one was numerical, and like, I didn't remember everything, and that's how it was. Like people would read it once or twice or 3 times, and like you didn't remember. So like you could go through like my PDFs like literally 3 times, and okay, like you're not going to remember everything. But I don't want you to convert things into Anki. I don't want you doing that. Not for my PDFs. Although I'm flattered, yes. I don't think you need to do that. And I know some people have manipulated my content and will by all means do that. But be careful with anything that I am not directly putting out, because I literally had someone, it's like a troll. Okay. I literally had someone DM me with like a fucking erratum from some Anki deck that was created by someone else based on my PDF. So I'm like, I didn't fucking write that. Like, get out of here with that. So just be careful if there's like stuff passed around that I didn't directly produce. So Fernando Lopez asked, "Hi, I'm from Mexico." That's fucking awesome. Where are you from in Mexico, Fernando? Do you think I have a chance to pass USMLE? I mean, and how do you recommend that I should study? Okay, you're very like stage 0 question right here. Um, So if you're literally from stage 0, you're going to want to watch my YouTube clips on prepping for step 1, okay? But I've talked about how you're going to do all of Amboss or UWorld. You can choose either QBank. They're non-superior to each other. I want you going through untimed tutor random. I want you to go through the whole QBank, okay? 40 to 80 questions per day. If you do 40 per day, you're going to do them in the morning, take your lunch, and then the afternoon is going to be your going through my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs. So when you're going through QBank, untimed tutor random, the whole fucking QBank, but you say, well, I suck jack fucking shit at immuno. How am I going to pack the punch on immuno? Or I got a quiz in school in cardio in 2.5 weeks. I want to study cardio. Well, I want you to continue doing the QBank in random mode. But then subject specific, you can do like my cardio PDF and my cardio MCQs on the YouTube. So the combination of those two, the PDF and the YouTube MCQs, very fucking ace for building up subject specific while you're going through QBank in random mode. Okay, if it's a situation where you're failing school and you really need to like get through and it's a problem, like I could have you do subject specific in QBank. But when we talk about USMLE, I prefer people going through random in QBank. But you're gonna want to go through all my PDFs, do them throughout your prep. You're gonna want to go through all my YouTube MCQs, and then the final month plus is going to be NBMEs 20 through 24, then free 120, then 25 through 31. So you're asking if you have a chance to pass the USMLE. I mean, obviously, you're just gonna have to study and you'll get there. Let's see. Lost my spot in the chat. Let me see. Here we are. Abdel Farag says, "Can I study your notes within first aid? Get out of here with first aid, dude. If you want to trigger me, it's like asking like about that shit. Like, don't trigger me like that." Farad asks, "Goat of USMLE." That's not a question. Well, appreciate it, dude. Steve White's, Doc, what's the update on funny? What's the update on OnlyFans? Soul Asai Cronin says, "I love your brows." Thanks, dude. SOL. I don't know. Is that I can't see your thumbnail. I don't know if you're a girl or a guy. Like I hope you're a girl, but I mean like EMB, ESC methylene blue says, "Sir Mehlman, is it possible to prep for step 1 in a month and pass?" No. No, it's not. Like you can't take someone off the street now and pass in a month. So you have to have your basics down. You know, I would say minimum 3 months probably. You have to get through an entire QBank and you have to get through NBMEs. So I mean that's like your minimum. So it's like saying like could you prep for like the bar exam for law school, right, in a month? It's like, well, not really. So Mr. Clever, unless you're like, you know, an AI or something, I'm sure, yes, I'm sure there's some people who are capable. Mr. Clever asks, "Hey, Mike, I've taken 2 NBMEs and gotten 62, 66%. I plan to take another one tomorrow, shooting for 70. My exam is June 15th. Should I delay my exam?" Those scores are not where we want them to be. Yes, I would delay your exam 100%. I would say I'd want to know which NBMEs you took. I would convert those to 3-digit scores, but they're not going to be high enough. And I would basically, I'd put you probably end of July target. I'd have to meet with you. Like I normally discuss these things on Skype with students. I can create schedules, right? Where I tell you day by day what you're going to do. But I would say just in general, I'd be thinking you would need to sit end of July. I'd want you to get through all the NBME exams. I don't like your scores right now. I'm not happy with that. So Solasai says, "Your skin looks amazing." Thanks. Foodies World says, "I got 60% on the IM CMS form after doing 45% of UWorld mixed topics in my IM shelf on June 29th. So how do I improve for IM shelf to get 90%? You got to go through all. So for each shelf exam, but of course for IM here, you're going to go through all the UWorld, and so yours is in June 29th, not far. Well, I'd want you to go through all 8 CMS forms twice, okay, for the IM shelf. So that's 16 that you're going to do. So 1 through 8, then you're going to repeat 1 through 8. So I want you to go through all those. But to fill in the gaps, I mean, IM is so broad, right? So I got a massive fucking playlist on my YouTube in IM. I've got my PDFs, which are like all IM, basically. They're mixed step 1, step 2. So I want you to go through those. But June 29th, I'd say the target, though, has to be no fucking excuses. You need to know those CMS forms like really, really well. Okay, so let's see here. We've got Olumide asks, thanks for your neuro PDFs and immunology PDFs and biochem PDFs. I'm trying to pay for the biochem and pharmacology on your website, but I cannot. Please, how can I? Well, people buy them every day, so that's not a problem on my end. It's PayPal or a debit card or credit card, whatever. Ibrahim. What's up, Ibrahim? Ibrahim. What's going on, Ibrahim? Hey, man. Hey, Mike. You look sharp. Ibrahim, I really appreciate you, dude. You've, a lot of trust has gone into you. I really, really appreciate you, dude. And you don't need any question. You don't need me to answer any of your questions because you can score like a 283 on NBME probably. So you get like 3 wrong or something on like a, so you don't need me to answer questions for you. Limo says pretty weak at biochem. Anything else to do before your PDF? Yeah, you can do my biochem playlist on the YouTube here. You go through those questions. That'll make the PDF a lot easier. CLAP says, I passed step 1 because of your videos. Dr. Amar Satar. Hi, Mike. I have a suggestion. Why don't you make longer video with multiple NBME questions? I look at analytics, and you guys are assholes sometimes. Okay, in the sense, I'm joking, but like sometimes people will make a suggestion. I look at analytics to keep attention of you guys watching videos for longer than like 2-3 minutes is like a big feat. Okay, so analytics. People don't watch long videos. People will say, yeah, make like a 30-minute video. And then you look at analytics and like most people aren't watching by like 14 minutes or something. Like it's hard to make long videos, even if they're good quality. That's why I try to make my YouTube MCQs like 3 to 5 minutes. Like if I make a YouTube MCQ and it's longer, if it's in the 6-minute range or longer, I feel like that's long. Okay. So 3 to 5 minutes I try to target for my videos. And that's just because I know you guys, the attention span, I mean, that's what it's going to be. So Sarish Abdul Basit says, what's the pure path to get 270 plus in CK? Sarish going for the fences here. Sarish, what you're going to do is after you finish Amboss or UWorld, you're going to do all the clinical mastery series forms. And you're going to go 3 to 3.5 weeks, all the CMS forms. Okay. So it's a long discussion based on whether you're post-grad or whether you're on rotations right now, but I want to see you. If you're post-grad and you can study linearly, I want you to, after you finish Amboss UWorld, you're going to do all the CMS forms. Then you're going to do NBMEs 6 through 8 offline. Then holy shit, you're going to do double pass of all the CMS forms. Then you're going to do NBMEs 9 or free 120, then NBMEs 9 through 13. If you're on rotations, obviously you're doing things subject specific. So you would do for each rotation all the QBank questions, and then you're going to do the CMS forms twice. Okay. And of course, my PDFs and YouTube MCQs. If you cover the tetrad, those 4 things, QBank, PDF, my PDFs, number 3 is going to be the YouTube MCQs, number 4, the NBME content, the CMS content, then you're going to do very well in USMLE. So let's see here. Asif asks, after you're just done with first pass, which NBME is best to assess? You just done with first pass. Okay. So I'm assuming QBank you're talking about. So first NBME for step 1, you're going to do NBME 20. For step 2, you're going to do NBME 6. Sometimes I can have you do 2 of those. Like if your score is borderline, meaning like you get around like 60% or like low 60s. And I'd say anywhere between, I'd say under 60%, I don't want you proceeding through the NBMEs. But if you get like 60 to 60, 5% correct on the NBME exam. For 20, I'll have you do 21. But if your scores, it really depends on when your exam is, if we can move it, etc. But I want to see like mid 60s plus. But 20 and 21 is what we'll do initially, and then for step 2, 6 and 7. Carlos asks, "Thank you, Mike, for all your work that you do." Thank you, Carlos. I've seen you around recently. Your name's popped up quite a bit. Ramsha. What's going on, Ramsha? How's it going, Mike? How's it going? What are you up to, Ramsha? How's everything going in Pakistan right now? You got your Wi-Fi. That's good. What are you up to, Ramsha? All right. So I review things asks, hello, Giga. Has the Telegram hacker been removed for good? Yes. Dude was in fucking Myanmar. I was able to link that to Myanmar. That was like absolutely cuck situation, but like, yes, everything's good with Telegram now. Ramsha asks, following your military style timetable, some days left in CK now. Ramsha, it was tough coming up with this. Well, actually, it wasn't tough coming up with a schedule for you. It was fastidious. in that it's difficult to write a day by day schedule in terms of which exact like time of day you're fucking doing which PDF and which page number, etc. Because people will go slower or faster, right? So I can say from like 6 to 8 p.m. on this day, you're gonna do page 12 to 26 of this PDF, and then you read, you know, 10 pages or 30 pages and the whole schedule is off. So those type of military schedules, they're difficult to develop. But no, it's good that you've been making progress to that schedule. Kazi Shergil says, just gave the NBME, or you just gave the exam today, the real exam. Felt it was an amalgamation. Let's use big words. An amalgamation, which means we're connecting two things, of NBME 31 and UWSA 2. Well, that makes sense because it's the NBME questions. So yes, it would be like NBME 31 and the other NBMEs by all means. And you say UWSA 2, well, it's going to look like UWorld. Okay, so the questions aren't UWorld, but it'll look like UWorld, where the UWorld appearing interface, but they're just the NBME questions superimposed in there. So it's going to feel like you're doing UWorld. That makes sense. You said arrows were the highest yield on your real exam. Thanks, dude. Yeah, arrows are high yield. Also, did all your high yield review PDFs. Good. My NVMe scores were in the 240s, and free 120 was 84% solid. Prachi Patel says, I'm getting around 230 in NBME for step 2. CK, how can I improve my score? Exam is in 5 to 6 weeks. Okay, well, I would want to know if you've gone through the CMS forms, okay, all the Clinical Mastery Series forms, 45 to 50 forms. If you haven't done those, then your scores are not going to be as high as they should be. And then you say, well, I have looked at some of them. Okay, have you done all of them then? And if you quote unquote have done all of them, I would say, have you done all of them twice? Okay, I want students to do those twice. So I'd say for you, a prescription, I pretty much doubt you've gone through all of them twice. I want you to do the CMS forms again, okay? And I want you to redo NBMEs. You're going to do NBMEs 6 through 13, including free 120. So let's say, for example, you took NBME 9 and you got your 230. I want you to do all the CMS forms again. Then I want you to do NBME 6 through 8, free 120. And even if you've done 6 through 8 already, I want you to do them again as though you've never done them. Okay, you're still going to get like many questions wrong. Belango Lugaco, where are you from? Belango, where are you from? Hey Mike, please make a PDF on internal med. I have, dude. So the high yield reviews, mixed reviews 1 through 4, those are based on the internal medicine Clinical Mastery Series exams. Okay, you can use them for step 1 as well, but those are general internal medicine. And all my other PDFs, like if you like, let's say you're on your internal med, well, you can go through my cardio PDF, and like that's all 2CK material as well. A lot of these PDFs are step 1 and step 2. Okay, it's not dichotomous anymore. And if there's stuff that's specifically like definitely only step 1 or definitely only step 2, I tend to explicate that, make that clear within my PDFs. Rafia San says, hey, Mike, what should we be doing in the last month for step 1? UWorld, second pass or means hell no for UWorld. You're not going to touch UWorld in the last month. It's a trolling type of question. So, I mean, I've harped on this, right? I mean, I've said you're going to do NBMEs 20 through 31 in the final month. So 20 through 24, free 120, and then 25 to 31. So, I mean, I've said that a lot. EMB retracted a message. That's right. EMB, you retract that message. Asana Steve says, which NBME is best to assess after first pass? You already asked that. Kristen B says, hi, Mike. I passed my NBMEs and practice exams and failed my step. How is that possible? Hard for me to trust my NBME score. I'd want to know exactly what your NBME scores were. I'd want to know how you went through them. I'd want to know how you reviewed them. I'd want to know about your QBank scores. I would be chatting, and that's what I'd be chatting with you about. And I'd be really delving into like, is there a catch? Okay, it's not discounting what you're saying. I'm saying sometimes there's a catch as far as some people and how their NBME scores relate to their real deal. But sometimes, let's say you did everything right. Sometimes you can just get unlucky. Okay, I mean that's possible. So, the average of your NBMEs, especially in the final month, is likely where your real deal score is going to sit. So if you've got a score at the lower end, like sometimes people will take like all the NBMEs and they'll have like, let's say, 20 through 31, and like one of your exams is like a fail, but then the others are like pretty good, and one of them might be high, and then your real exam is like close to that lower mark you got, and you're all depressed, and it's like, well, it was possible. Okay, it's possible. So the range of NBMEs reflect what's possible for you. Okay. So if you have a bad result, obviously we don't want that on the real deal. We hope it's by all means closer to the positive, the highest result you've had. But low end results are unfortunately possible. And so, 30 people go and sit the exam, and they all do 20 through 31 and free 120, maybe 25 out of 30 of you are going to be sitting around, you'll score around the average of your NBMEs. Maybe 3 out of 30 of you will score like higher than your NBMEs, and you're all like ecstatic and you say, "Oh my god, like your resources are amazing, you're amazing." And then 2 of you are like depressed, and you're like, you scored lower than your NBMEs and you're like wondering how. And you say, "Well, I went through your PDFs, whatever, and I didn't like score." So that's possible. But I'd want to like sit and chat with you about that. So HFREF says, to know Mike more, what's his favorite thing to eat and favorite type of alcohol? My favorite thing to eat is I like Indian food the most, but I rarely eat it. Naan. Okay, I love fucking like a good naan, a crispy fucking naan. That's like my favorite. I was talking about this on the IG live a moment ago. So spicy palak paneer, that'd be fucking amazing. And I like papadum. Okay, a spicy papadum with a chutney. Okay, so the mango chutney or the green chutney, but spicy. I really like that. It has to be spicy, or I feel like something's missing. But I rarely eat Indian/Nepalese food just because, even though it's my favorite, just because I'd have to like run a lot if I like when I was overweight last year, I ate that like every fucking day. Like I ate that a lot. But now it's like a very special thing if I have Indian or Nepalese food. And my favorite type of alcohol, I would say tequila. I love tequila. I literally just posted some. I had tequila today, actually. I had tequila maybe like 7 hours ago. I had a little bit of tequila. But let's see. Sam Musa says, how to master biostats, very tough. I have a biostats PDF, but also you can do just the NBME exams. So when you go through the NBMEs, like for example, okay, you do NBME 20 and you get like the biostats questions wrong, review those questions. Okay, review those questions in biostats, like, and know those concepts. So know the questions as you move through the actual exams. Learn those questions while you're actively studying. That's how you're going to learn your biostats. So you're just going to get questions wrong. You say, this is the time and place that I'm now going to review and understand this concept. So there's the proactive aspect of like, yeah, you can sit in your room and go through my biostats PDF. But if you're just moving through the NBMEs, like, you're going to get questions wrong. You say, well, I got this wrong on positive predictive value and or negative predictive value. And now I'm just going to learn that concept right now. And that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, biostats really, really annoying, but you got to know that stuff, especially for 2CK. Lou Jane Faraj says, thank you for all your help your channel is providing. Thanks, Lou Jane. What are you up to, Lou Jane? Where are you from? Where are you from, Lou Jane? M asks, I just found out about you this week and my exam is this week, sad face. Thank you so much for all you share. I'm trying to go through the arrows document as a last ditch attempt to raise my score. Well, arrows is a very excellent way to do that. It's a difficult PDF, but if you know arrows well, then you should pass step 1. Okay. If a student fails step 1, I could literally, like any student, fails step 1, comes to me, says, yep, I went through your PDFs, whatever. Say, okay. And I could ask them just like a basic question about a hormone from like highlight arrows. So I'll just be like, okay, what's the sodium potassium pH bicarb for fibromuscular dysplasia, renal artery stenosis? And they have to like sit and think about it. Like they're not sure. Or I'm like, okay, what about like SIDH versus DI? It's like, you shouldn't have to think about those concepts. So hormones, you got to know really well. And you got to know pathophys for all the high yield diseases. Basically, any disease you can think of, any disease, von Willebrand disease, hemophilia, ITP, Okay, any disease, cystic fibrosis, Duchenne, any disease, you got to know the mechanism. So you just say like we have X disease, it's going to be, cystic fibrosis. Then you say, well, like, what are high yield points about it? Like, what do I know about cystic fibrosis? You got to be able to answer those questions in the exam. You can get all the questions wrong on like pharmacokinetics. Uh, you can get questions wrong on weird biochemistry. Okay, weird neuroanatomy. You can get all those questions wrong. You got to know like basic pathophys of conditions. This is tangential. Some students ask about general principles because sometimes the NBME exams, that bar on the feedback, it'll say general principles. People are like, what does that refer to? I'd say a lot of that's just pathophys. Let's see. Vidu asks today or says today I got 48% of 162 in UWSA2. Exam is in 10 days. What should I do to increase my? You're going to postpone. Also, you said also I passed NBME. No. You passed me 28. No. You're postponing. Minimum until the end of July. Vidu. You were sitting at minimum end of July, but I would chat with you about like how you're going to go about that normally. This is what I fucking do. I have people come to me and then I develop their plans. That's like what I'm an expert at. Foodie's World says, thank you so much, Dr. Mike. Amen Akhtar says, hey, Mike, we love you. Thanks, Amen. What are you up to, Amen? Where are you at? Jim Solik says, ACTH. Yeah, Jim, I guess, yeah, that's, you nailed it. I literally, if you guys are new to this stream, I asked like a question about pituitary tumor, like literally like a fucking like 25 minutes ago or something. So that's like where I am in the thread here. 075 Mukul Demon asks, how many NBME questions or how are NBME questions different from UWorld Amboss Q-Banks? The NBMEs are simply just the real deal. Okay, like it's not subjective. It's not anyone's opinion. Objectively, the NBME exams are the real USMLE. When you go into the real USMLE, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing the NBME questions in a UWorld appearing interface. So it's going to look like UWorld, the colors, calculator, lab values. It's going to look like UWorld. So people walk out and they say it felt like UWorld. Okay, but the questions are the NBME questions superimposed in that UWorld appearing interface. Okay, so the UWorld Amboss questions in terms of how are they different, it's like me writing questions, which by all means, like my YouTube MCQs are fucking on spot. Yeah, they're fucking excellent. They're based on NBME exams. I mean, so are the Q-Bank questions, right? But they're not the real NBME questions. So you just have to know that when we are making an assessment, when I'm looking at your scores and I say like, we've got these NBME scores and your exam's in X number of days or weeks, like the NBMEs don't lie. Like those are the actual exam questions. They repeat between the old and the new forms, and they repeat on the real deal. The anatomy questions I had on my real step one back in 2012 are the same anatomy questions that show up on offline NBME 24, which is like really fucking weird. Okay, so Hussein Abdullah says, love your way of teaching, man. Thanks, dude. Where are you at, Hussein? Danny Tumajan says, I took the exam yesterday in step one. I feel like I failed. I keep remembering stuff that I had wrong. I hate my life. You'll be all right, dude. Just remember how you feel coming out of the exam doesn't mean jack fucking shit, okay? Like you can feel like shit, but you could have done really well. Just you probably scored around the average of your NBMEs. That's what you got to know. Vidu says, I already addressed your question about that, Vidu. Ali Ahmed Kasim says, man, by watching your vids, although I am not at that level, but it makes me push more. Yeah, well, I've been doing this for years. Meegs says, yo, Mike, direct and indirect inguinal hernias, high yield or pure BS? No, that's fair game. Absolutely. That's fair game. You got to know that stuff for sure. I mean, I talk about that in my high yield MSK anatomy rheumatology PDF. I put the hernias in there. If you scroll down toward the bottom, I have like a ton of a chart on hernias, all the different hernias. On my 2CK, I had like weird hernia. I had a double question with weird hernias. Well, it was a two-part question, and like obviously, like yeah, let me talk about my actual exam, and I'll, but the thing is, there was one easy hernia and one hard / difficult hernia. So I put a chart with all the hernias in the MSK PDF, and that's good to go through. Jim Solik asks, I love your live streams, boss Dr. Mike. It's good to do them every now and again. Thank you. No, thank you, dude. Where are you at, Jim? What are you up to? Dreamer says, do PDFs and UWorld separately? No, do them at the same time. I lost where I was in the stream. Sometimes it moves and then it just like, let me see. Scrolling back up. Yeah, scrolling back up. Wow. Let's see. Man, there's a lot of fucking. Oh, here we are. Where are we? Okay. Maywish Adil says, hey, I got 51% on first pass of UWorld. Or no, on the first UWorld assessment, you got 51% UWSA 1. Your exams in 1 month. What do you suggest? Bro, you're going to go through all the NBME exams. I said this 20 through 31, including free 120. You got to do well in those exams. 075 McCool Demon says, my step one is in 6 months. I've done 20% UWorld now. Will it be fine at the end? Yeah, you're just going to continue through all UWorld, and then you're going to do NBMEs 20 and 21. You'll see how you perform. Bro, I don't think you need to sit in 6 months, but unless it's that you're in class, if that's the reason your step one's in 6 months, that you're in class right now, that's different. But that's like way too much time. You can just finish QBank, sit the NBMEs, and then you're good to go in like 2 months, 2.5 months from now or something, the latest. But if you're in class, I would push through the QBank and even do a second QBank right now. And of course, do my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs. Stian Newod. I have no idea how to say your name, Stian. Where are you from? Okay, there we go. Stian here from South Africa. How's it going, man? You have a very effective teaching style. Keep it up. My question is, why the fuck is it so expensive to write these bloody exams? Well, because they know you want to go to the US. What I'm actually surprised about is that ECFMG certification is not expensive. It's like $150 or something. But it's like everyone would clearly like buy that. They could make ECFMG certification like $5,000 and like everyone would buy that. Because it's like, what are you gonna do? If you want to go to the US, you have to get ECFMG certification. But it's like $150. But the step exams, yeah, are like $1,000. Rosaneri, do you work as a physician in your country? No. I have no interest in that. I just do USMLE as my main job. Joe Tiramaya Jane says, did any you're just like asking a generic question. Shivam Taravat says, is 6 months with 7 hours daily enough for CK prep? That's too long. 6 months for 2CK prep is too long. I'd say like 4 months. Azra Khalil says, do I rely on scores second time doing NBME? Do I rely on scores second time? Like, do I trust those scores from? Oh, okay. No. You take them with a grain of salt. Like if someone's, let's say, for example, you sat NBMEs 20 through 31, 3 120, you failed step one, and then you're going to do them all again. Like, yeah, we take them with a grain of salt for sure. And then we say, well, have we done the UWSAs? I've talked about how I don't normally advise doing the UWSAs. I don't incorporate them in people's preps. But like, if I have a student come to me, for example, where they say I failed comp or I failed step one already, and I've exhausted all the exams, I could say, well, we could do NBME 19, for instance, or NBME 18 offline. We could do UWSA 1 or 2, but I don't like the UWSAs, but it's possible. But we take your NBME exams with a grain of salt. Like when I have you redo NBMEs 20 through 31, obviously, if you scored 238 equivalent or 240 equivalent on those forms, well, we know you sat them before, so we have to take them with a grain of salt. But better that you do well than poorly, of course. Kisbel Pena Estrella says, hi from the Dominican Republic. What's going on, Kisbel? Kisbel, what are you up to? How's the Dominican Republic? I dated some chick from the Dominican Republic when I was 19 in my dormitory at Boston University. I had a Dominican girlfriend. What do you think? A asks, what do you think about pre-studying for medical school a couple months before school starts? I wouldn't pre-study for medical school. I would not do that. I mean, you're talking way early, but like, no. I would not pre-study for medical school at all. Enjoy life prior to medical school, dude. Garab Casey says, Dr. Mike, Should do a question answer non USMLE session 2. Well, that's what this evolves into later, probably, because like I'm not going to be answering USMLE questions for 3 fucking hours. Like the last session I did, that was 3 hours here on my YouTube. Like the last like I don't know, half hour plus was like non-medical questions. But the focus here is not me. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about giving you some value. So I'm gonna push with medical stuff the best I can for a while, and then when I crack the fuck out, because it's 3:20 a.m. here, but I'm good to go right now. But if it gets when it gets later, and I want to do non-medical questions, I can answer more about like Indian food and stuff, which is fucking amazing. Um, Hussam Halik says, if you were to go for CK now, what do you expect your score will be? 270s. Bahavia asks, I can't bring myself to studying basic sciences for step 1. Is it okay if I start systems first and then basics? I've graduated a week ago. Studying basics go through my PDFs. I mean, I know you say you can't bring yourself to studying basics for step 1. Go through my high yield PDFs. Start with cardio, pulm, renal, gastro, heme. Do high yield arrows. Go through those PDFs. Go through my YouTube MCQs. Those are gonna cover your basics. Okay, so I would start with those. Fernando Lopez, thank you so much. Carol Martha, hi. How do I use your notes to review for USMLE step 2? Well, you're going to go through obviously Amboss UWorld. You can do my PDFs while you're doing that. So you have like for both of you studying for step 1 and step 2, right? So, you're going to have your morning session where let's say you do 40 questions. You have lunch, and then your afternoon session is going to be doing my PDFs, YouTube MCQs. That's a good way to do things. And then sometimes if you want to just do more questions, your afternoon / evening session can be more questions. You do 80 questions in a day. So that's also something you can do. But you can just use my notes, like just read them casually while you're going through QBank. So I want you to do QBank in random mode, random untimed tutor, ideally. And then my notes can just be like, you say to yourself, well, I want to like study peds right now as well. So while you're going through QBank in random mode, you're reading my peds PDF and you're doing my peds playlist on the YouTube. Okay, so that's how you can do things. You're moving through QBank and random. You're doing my GI PDF, GI playlist. You're continuing QBank and random. You do my hematology PDF, hematology playlist. Okay, so that's how you can move through a subject-specific element concurrent to your random and QBank. Toby asks, if I book session, how fast can I have the appointment with you? I finished my yeah, I'm booked the fuck out. But when occasionally what happens is people will book sessions, they pay for sessions, and then they want an emergency appointment ASAP. It really depends. I can try to squeeze you in. It really just depends on how urgent the matter is. Let's see. Parsa says, but I have refunded people occasionally where they need the session instantly, and I just said no. I've sent people back like large amounts of money before. Parsa says, I'm stage 0, just finished first year medical school, plan to study. Don't answer me. Don't give me a cuck question right now like that. You ask about these like complete nonsense resources. I'm not going to give them oxygen on here. You're not mentioning the right resources. You're going to go through my PDFs and you're going to go through my YouTube MCQs in addition to QBank. That's what you're going to do. None of those cuck resources you just mentioned, Parsa. Hussein Abdullah says, what do you think about no, I'm not answering that cuck question either. Marlene Khan says, is it better to go through your audio QBank or PDFs if we are in a time crunch? That's a good question, Marlene. It depends on your natural style for learning. Like some people really like the PDFs and they don't really watch videos. Some people really like, doing videos or listening to an audio form as podcast and not really reading my PDFs, right? So it really depends on what you're able to absorb. I think both are obviously effective, okay? But yeah, just if you can read really quickly, just blitz through the PDFs. The PDFs are fucking amazing, okay? Vidushi Sharma says, hey, Mike, any tips on improving question solving skills? I answered this earlier in this stream. And I said the 2 basic points without going into 20-minute discussion on it again. But The two basic points are don't choose weird sounding shit when you don't know an answer, and the other point is when you don't know an answer 100%, don't change your answer if you already chose one. So if you're reading a question, you think it's sickle cell, and then you're hovering over it, you're not 100% sure. Thalassemia, wrong fucking answer. Okay, so you're gonna go with sickle cell, and don't choose weird sounding answers. So there's a lot we can discuss on that front. Mally Poodle says, question, what's your recommendation for studying microbiology and farm? I have my high yield dermatology PDF is loaded with micro. Okay. So it's loaded with micro, and I have a lot of micro on my YouTube. Okay. I have PowerPoints, micro PowerPoints on my YouTube. Okay. A lot of micro is a waste of fucking time. Okay, so you can learn micro like in high detail, but it's like a lot of that's a waste of time. All right, so you asked about pharmacology. Obviously, I have farm modules that are free on my website. Okay, farm modules, those are free and good, and of course, I have Farm Anki that's paid. And you said, thank you for showing me the light. Currently, I go through Amboss, QBank, pushing through your high yield PDFs. You're the goat. Yazid Kamel says, hey man, I was the guy that commented on the last live saying suggesting a QBank marathon. Sorry if that comment triggered you, bro. You're a real one man. Thank you. You're a real one man. Thank you for everything. Yeah, thank you, dude. Yeah, QBank marathon. Yeah, if you mean just like answering questions, like what do you mean, Yazid, in terms of a QBank marathon? Like, what are you asking me to do? I think you mean like my YouTube MCQs. If I were to just have like a longer version of those videos where I just go through like, or do you mean like each NBME exam? I can't have copyrighted material on my YouTube like that. I know that I have been made aware that there are like other channels out there where they actually like make you pay to unlock their videos, where they go through actual real NBME exams, like the actual NBME exams, which is literally illegal because it's copyrighted material. So sure, you can make a quick buck, but if you're serious about your channel and you don't want it like, you don't want copyright infringement like that. Like I can't, there's a reason why I create my own questions. It's because I'm not allowed to use NBME material, actual NBME questions on my YouTube. That's copyrighted material. So if there's anyone out there who has videos on that, which there are, it's actually illegal, but they make money off of that, some of them. AM says, got 220 on step 2 CK. How do I improve on step 3? The fuck am I doing? The cap's on right now. You got a 220 on CK. How do I improve on step 3? I prep people for step 3 very similar to TCK, which is that you are going to do all the CMS forms. Okay. It really depends on how long ago your CK was, but you got to know those CMS forms extremely well for step 3. And I want you doing all the TCK and BMEs again for step 3 prep. Of course, you're going to do the CCS cases and UWorld, which is only like 1,900 questions. And there's only one NBME, which is like weird. So Taha asks, whenever I review my incorrects, most of the time, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I knew that, but I still can't break past 45 to 55% for step 2 UWorld. How would you suggest getting past this plateau? I wouldn't be worried about your scores in UWorld. I would just continue with the questions, Taha, not worry about your exact scores. And I would, of course, supplement with my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs. Ahmad Khan says, hello, Mike, getting 70% in NBMEs block, but in UWorld 59%. 70% NBMEs, but UWorld, should I do wrong ones? UWorld flashcards. You don't need to make UWorld flashcards. I wouldn't recommend that. 70% NBMEs is good, but in UWorld, I wouldn't sit any NBMEs until you finish UWorld. Okay, I don't want you doing NBMEs while you're in the middle of UWorld. So just focus on UWorld right now. Don't worry about your scores in UWorld, and then when you're done, just sit more NBMEs. You just see how you go then. Sheikh Shahid says, hello, sir. Can you please say how to study medicine for USMLE Step 2? That's a very broad question, Sheik, and I've talked about this a lot. But you're going to do all of QBank and Boss or UWorld. You're going to do All the clinical mastery series forms, 45 to 50 forms. It's going to take you 3 to 3.5 weeks. You're going to do NBME 6 through 8 offline. You're going to do a double pass of all the CMS forms. You're going to do free 120. And you're going to do NBMEs 9 through 13. Tahara McPherson says, hey, I am in my last semester at RUSM and I have to sit for comp August 19th. Any advice? Yeah, that's a good amount of time right now. So you've obviously, I would do QBank until mid July. You're gonna do hardcore QBank. I want you to do QBank. Tahara, if you're still in the chat, I want you to Tajera. I want you to do 40 questions QBank in the morning, untimed tutor random, blocks of 10. You're gonna have lunch. And then you're gonna do my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs the afternoon, evening. You're gonna do that until around August 15th. And then I want you doing NBMEs 20 through 24 free 120, then 25 through 31. Even if you've done some of those forms already, I want you doing those forms up until your comp. If your scores are under, 60-ish%, if you're like tanking the NBMEs when you get there, I would ask you if you're allowed to have more attempts at your comp. But I potentially would just have you not waste the NBMEs, and I'd have you drive incorrects from QBank all the way up until your comp. There's a time and place for when I go nuclear and I have students exhaust all the NBMEs for their comp, even if their scores aren't there. It's usually when you've failed it 4 times already and your school says they're going to kick you out if you don't pass this 5th time. Then I'll just have a student use all the NBMEs, even if they're not passing. Memo JR says, how can a student in second year make best use of Anki? You don't need to use Anki through your prep. Okay, so I don't want you making Anki for QBank. I don't want you doing that. I want you only making Anki for your NBME exams. When you are going, I want you for your NBMEs 20 through 31, I want you screenshotting your incorrects into Anki. That's what I want you doing. And I want you reviewing those as stacked reviews. So for example, you do NBME 20 and you're going to screenshot those incorrects into the front card of the Anki. So if you get 70 wrong in NBME 20, you're going to have 70 screenshots, front card of Anki. And the back card is just going to be the letter of the answer. I don't want you writing explanations. And then you're going to go on NBME 21. You're going to repeat the process. You're going to screenshot those incorrects into the same Anki deck as 20. Okay, so you finish the review of 21. I want you redoing those incorrects from 20. You go on NBME 22. You're going to screenshot those incorrects from 22 into the same Anki deck as 2021. So after you finish the entirety of NBME 22 review, you're going to redo the incorrects from 20 and 21 again. And you're going to continue that process. So for example, you do NBME 24. After you're done reviewing, you're going to redo the incorrects from 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, so I have a stacked review process that I like for students, and that helps them memorize the NBME exams. So Vaidushi Sharma says, love your rings, the silver ones. Where do you get those? American Eagle, actually. From like these rings I'm wearing are from high school, actually. This one's from Tokyo. Let's see. Mustafa says, love your content. Do you ever see yourself streaming in Twitch? I've never used Twitch. Do you guys use Twitch? I mean, I've never used Twitch. The thing is, though, I'm still like small, right? Like, I appreciate you guys. Like, I 100% like don't take you guys for granted. I have humility on that front. But like, as I grow, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you guys give me more advice. You say, yo, Mike, why aren't you using like Twitch, or why aren't you using like Discord? And then I ease into that. That occasionally might happen, right? Where I'll look back and say, wow, I wasn't using Twitch until I was at like 30K on YouTube or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't, there is some sort of like, there is ignorance involved in the process as well. Like, you got to educate yourself. Always High asks, hello, scoring between 240 to 245 in NBMEs for CK, done with CMS too. What else do I need to do? When's your exam? Always High. I want to know when your exam is. But if you've done the CMS, you're going to want to do those twice. AP Sans, yo, welcome back. I remember you from my last chat, my last YouTube stream. My test is, my 2CK is July 27th, about a month and a half. Okay. I have 10,000 UWorld left. I think you mean 1,000. And you're getting around 65%. Spending June finishing UWorld and then moving on to the CMS forms all of July. What do you think? I want you I'd have to look at your schedule more closely. Okay. But I'd potentially just move if we can't move your July 20th, I'd want you postponing probably. Um, and because I'd want you doing 2 passes of all the CMS forms. So it's 3 to 3.5 weeks times two. So that's literally like 6 to 7 weeks for just the CMS alone. So you say, well, do I really need to do like all, 2 passes of the CMS, all the NBMEs? Do I really need to do all that? The answer is your whole application rides on 2CK. So why wouldn't we max your score out? So I'd want to have you finish all of QBank. I'd say we're going to allow you to finish. It's going to take you another, like, I don't know, 3 weeks or something, a month to do those 1,000 questions. And then, so that'll take you out to mid or early July at least. We do all the CMS forms. That's the remainder of July. And then I'd have you do NBME 6 through 8. Maybe that's early August. I'd have you do the double passes CMS forms. That's the rest of August. And then I'd have you do free 129 through 13. So maybe you sit rather than July 27th, you sit like September 10th or something. That's like an idea. Okay. But I normally sit down with people and like come up with their plans that way. Always High says aiming for 260 in CK. That's good. Hello. Scoring between, you already asked that. Yamalik Oliva says, hi, I just finished UWorld with 60%, and I'm going to start doing the CMS for step 2. I'm also working full time. What is possible and realistic test date for a good score? Finish UWorld with 60%, start CMS for step 2. Just do the CMS. So Yamalek, you're just going to do all the CMS. You're going to finish all of them. Okay. 45 to 50 forms, not worry about your scores. After you finish all the CMS forms, 3 to 3.5 weeks, then you're going to do NBMEs 6 through 8 offline. And we're going to see how you do on those NBME exams. Okay. So if you, based on how you perform, we can say, well, you scored really shitty. We don't want you sitting anytime soon. Rather than doing a second pass of CMS forms right away, we might have you do all your QBank and corrects. Then we might have you do the second pass of CMS forms. Then we might have you do the online NBMEs. If you do well in 6 through 8, I would just move you through second pass of all the CMS, then NBMEs, then free 120, then NBMEs 9 through 13. So you need to do the 2 passes CMS forms. Don't worry about your scores while you're doing the CMS forms. Just see how you go on NBMEs when you get there. John McReynolds says, how many NBMEs do you like to see in the 205, 210 range before you are comfortable with a student seeing step 1? I'd say 3. Thanks, John. I'd say 3 at least. Obviously, more the better. Always High says, you've asked the question like 10 times, but I know you're just trying to get my attention. HT says, where's the new Telegram channel? It's on fucking Telegram. I've linked it in my new YouTube MCQ questions, like repeatedly. So it's in there. If you go to like obviously I don't want you to leave the live stream here, but like if you go to my YouTube MCQs and you look at the pinned comments, okay, like I pinned a comment where I put the new Telegram group link there. And I also, just in the video descriptions, I have the new Telegram group link there. Okay. So that's where you can, and if you're in the old Telegram group, like on Telegram right now, you just say, well, I didn't know that there was a new group. If you go into the old Telegram group, we posted a link to the new group there. Okay. So you'll be able to find that. Carson, Carson, what's going on, dude? You're in New York, right? Thank you, sir. I gave NBME 25, which I got 132 out of 200. Not what we want, Carson, but it's not terrible. Okay. 68 wrong, not awful. How should I book my exam? Well, or one more question, which NBME. Carson, I'd want you to convert that to a 3-digit score for me. And I'd want you to sit NBME 26. I want more than one score. Okay. So you could sit NBMEs 25, 26, 27, and we can see how you go on those. And I'd be asking, did you even do NBMEs 20 through 24 and free 120? So if you haven't done 20 through 24 and free 120, I'd want you to do those prior to touching NBME 26. And I want you to make sure you thoroughly review all those as well. Okay. So Ahmed Khan says, weak in stats, genetics, anatomy, starting doing your PDFs. Is that tough, or is that enough for step 1? Well, yeah, my PDFs should be done throughout your prep. So the PDFs while you're doing QBank. Okay. I've said you're going to do QBank in the morning, like 40 questions, have lunch, then you're going to do PDFs in the afternoon, evening. That's a good way to go through the PDFs. But in terms of enough for step ones, that's what people ask me. They'll say, "Are your PDFs and NBMEs enough?" Or there's four things. I said tetrad repeatedly. Like what I want you doing is like I want you doing an entire QBank. I want you doing my PDFs. That's two. Three is my YouTube MCQ playlists. And then four is going to be all the NBME content. If you're studying for a 2CK, that includes the CMS forms. So Goram Gerg says, having a hard time with micro from Sketchy and UWorld. I tried some of your questions as well, but micro just won't stick, especially in questions with new details, like what's the virulence or organism. Yeah, I mean, like you gotta do more NBME questions. You're gonna learn that stuff from NBME. You're gonna learn enough to pass. Learn English with Omnia says, nice to see you live, Mike. Nice to see you too, Omnia. Thanks, Mike, says Shabnam. Learn English with Omnia says, thanks for your content, the content you're posting. Thanks, Omnia. Mohammed Al-Khaldi says, hey, Mike, so I understand you are already Harvard. You've harped on the importance of going through UWorld random and untimed. What if someone is studying UWorld via PDF offline, where it is only in subject? I mean, I haven't really like dealt with people who are sitting UWorld offline. I've always just told people to do it online. Okay. But I guess if people, this is going to sound pretty fucked up, but I mean, if people are able to afford my sessions when I'm Skyping with them, then it's never been an issue for them to just like do fucking UWorld online. So that's why I'm probably biased against like not ever working with a student where they're not able to do like a QBank online. Maria, you're the best. No, Maria, you're actually pretty fucking awesome. And I mean that. MSI says, should I go through first aid quickly before starting UWorld? The answer is no. Alvaro37NF says, hi, Doc. How do you deal with anxiety? You can get yourself a bottle of tequila. If you're Muslim and you don't drink, okay, because sometimes you get like an angry DM from someone who's like, oh, like that's not good, Michael. Then you can go to the gym. That's obviously really good. You should go to the gym. That's important. Physology says, hi, Dr. Mike. How do you go about step one prep and working full time as an IMG? You can't. Your step one's in 9 months. Struggling. Honestly, like I understand real life can get in the way, but studying for USMLE is your job. Like you're not supposed to be working full time. Now I understand that there can be circumstances where like you have kids or there's like, real life is not allowing you to, like you have to support yourself and you have to be like, working full time. I understand that. If at all possible, you don't want to be working while you're studying for step one. That's not like being a med student is full time. So you're just going to have to squeeze in the questions when you're off work. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. So you work your 9 to 5 or whatever your hours are, and then you're going to have to do like 40 questions per day when you're off. Things like, work habits, like getting through 20 per day, it's too slow. I really want you to try to commit to doing 40 questions per day, no matter how busy you are. So you're going to go through your job, you're going to get off. You're going to have to, have a quick workout, maybe have a meal, and then you're going to have to push through fucking 40 questions, because you're going to want to live life. You got a partner or I don't know, anything that's going on that you're doing. And you're going to have like very limited free hours in the day when you're working full time. And you're going to say, well, I don't want to be doing 40 questions. Okay. Like, but you gotta, if you're asking how to study for the step while you're working full time, that's the type of thing you have to do. You have to make that time, get through 40 questions a day and read my PDFs on downtime. Listen to my YouTube MCQs or my Spotify. Okay. All my YouTube MCQs, all my YouTube videos are also on a podcast on Spotify. You can listen to that in your car, for example, if you're driving to hospital, or listen to the YouTube while you're in the bus to the hospital or something. Tahara McPherson asks, hey, I'm in my last semester. You asked this already. You're at RUSM. You guys, sometimes some of you guys ask double questions because you want me to see, you want to get my attention. Dima M says, hey, Doc, NBME's 20 to 26 are 62 to 69%. Okay, those are like middle, those are borderline, like right in the middle around the pass mark. I feel like my scores are getting up really slow. My exam is in 1.5 months away. UWorld 75% each block, mixed time, 40% passed. Second pass UWorld, best way to maximize score. I want in your exams in 1.5 months. I want you to go through my cardio, pulm, renal, gastro, PDFs, heme, and I want you to go through high yield arrows. I really want you to knock out those PDFs. And I want you to redo NBMEs 20 through 26, the ones you've already done. I want you to redo those as though you've never done them before. And I want you to screenshot those incorrects in Anki, and then you're going to re-review those incorrects in Anki. And then you're going to do all that before you touch NBME 27, and your scores should be higher when you get to the next NBMEs. There's obviously more to discuss, but that's like we're chatting over live stream right now. Vaidushi Sharma says, I want to know how to make the timetable you are talking about. Well, what do you want to know more specifically, Vaidushi? I mean, I come up with plans normally over Skype with people. E asks, hey, doctor, please advise on best resources for step 2. I've said this a million times. Sorry, you meant step 3. Okay, for step 3, it's just, I know 99% of you are not step 3. So, but for step 3, you're going to prep exactly as you are for 2CK. You're going to go through all the CMS forms, the NBMEs for 2CK, okay, for step 3. And you're going to go through UWorld for step 3, which is going to be 1,900 questions. You're going to do the CCS cases, okay? So the CCS cases, I would put because step 3 is 2 days. I would put those exam days at least 4 days apart if possible. So you sit the first day, which is just MCQ, and then you have like 4 days where you do nothing but CCS cases. That's what you're going to do. You're going to practice those CCS cases, and then you sit the CCS component with, obviously, there's more MCQs that second day as well. And you will practice CCS cases daily leading up to even the first day of the step 3. But my point is that gap period between the 2 testing days will be nothing but CCS cases. So, but for step 3 though, go through my PDFs. Okay, go through my PDFs on my website. AM asked, got 220 on step 2 CK. How do I improve in step 3? You're from Dubai. Wow, there's quite a few of you saying for step 3, huh? I'm surprised. So to improve on step 3, I want you to go through my PDFs, dude. I really want you to go through my PDFs. You can ignore the step 1 ones like biochem, immuno, neuroanatomy. You don't have to look at those. If you look at the neuroanatomy and you're studying for step 3, skip like the diagrams, but like the vignette component where I talk about like patient presentation, that stuff's good to do. Sumit Sharma says, and I want you to do all the CMS forms twice for step 3, same as what you do for step 2. Sumit Sharma says, can you give a 4-month plan of USMLE CK just after step 1? Yeah, easy. You're going to do 2 months of, 1.5 to 2 months of Amboss UWorld. And then you're going to do CMS forms, which is 3 to 3.5 weeks. NBME 6 through 8. It's another 6 days. You're going to do another 3 to 3.5 weeks of the CMS forms twice. You're going to do free 120, then NBME's 9 through 13. It's very easy. Ahmed Khan says, tips for general pharm for step 1. I've got my pharm modules that are free on my website. And I also got Pharmanki that are paid, yes. Daniel Mwambi asks about some cuck resource I'm not going to address. The answer is no, Daniel. Tatum says, can you help with 4-month plan again? 4-month plan. I just answered that. But for step 1, I mean, step 1's not 4 months. Step 1 is much shorter. Step 1's like 3 months tops. QBank, then the NBMEs, that's it. And my PDFs and YouTube MCQs while you're going through QBank. Waleed Ahmed says, is your biochem PDF better than first aid? Yes. Mohammed Jama says, my guy, my base is shit and I have only 3 months only to study. What am I going to do, Mike? You have 3 months. Mohammed, what are you studying for? Step 1, step 2, what are you studying for? I'm assuming that's such a clueless question. I don't mean that negatively. I mean, I'm assuming it's step 1, like your intro to USMLE prep, I'm guessing. But you got to do QBank for like your first month and a half at least before you go to the NBME exams. But your final month is going to be nothing but NBMEs, Mohammed, okay? And I want you to go through my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs. Daniel says, answering the same cuck question again. I'm not going to answer that, Daniel. Answer is no. Dreamer, tips for path for step one, my PDFs. They're loaded with path. Amr Nazir says, hi, doctor. You wake up so early. I didn't wake up early. I haven't gone to bed yet. It's 3:49 a.m. here in Japan on Thursday, June 8th. I just haven't slept yet. I'll go to bed maybe like 8 a.m. or something. Because after this session, whenever I end it, I have three massive pieces of chicken in the fridge, and I have a salad. I'm gonna eat a lot. That's what I'm gonna do. Carson says, "Who can join live chat like video?" Well, I mean, maybe in the future we can venture into stuff like that. I'm sure we could do like some like multiple faces on the screen type stuff. I'm sure we could do that. Right now, I'm just trying to answer USMLE questions. Carson, Ben Carson. Your logo is literally Ben Carson. Mohammed Jam. Maybe you are Ben Carson. Maybe that's like, um, maybe you are. Maybe you're like, I'm not going to do politics anymore. I'm going to go back to like neurosurgery, USMLE, and like Mohammed Jama says, my guy, my base is shit for you asked that. Jay Solo says, hey Mike, how much of UWorld for step 2 CK should be done before about 1 month of dedicated? I want you to finish the entirety of cubing because you need to max your score on 2CK. You can't shortchange yourself. So 2CK, I'm happy with like I want students to go hardcore in terms of like finishing all of QBank. You gotta like, what's your alternative? You're just not going to score as high on the real deal otherwise. Bahavia asks, I've been trying to study for step 1 since 7 days, but I get so overwhelmed as to how to start, where to, and what to do. I need to brush up on basics as I'm weak in those. Yeah, I mean, I would go through high yield arrows, Bahavia. That's what I would do. Mohammed Jama, you've asked the same question. Ayub Ali says, I got NBME 28, you got a 220. Okay, so you got 220 NBME 28, you got a 218 on NBME 29, you got a 222 NBME 30. Those are good scores. How is it? Those are fine. I want you to just sit the remaining NBMEs. I want you to do all 20 through 31 before you sit. I'm not happy if you don't sit all those NBMEs, but those are solid scores because we're obviously looking for 205, 210 plus as a buffer. 197, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, 197 is the internal 3-digit pass mark for step 1. Okay, obviously pass fail exam, but like 197 internal. So it's like converting Celsius and Fahrenheit. You guys ask about percentages, right? Like maybe around 65 to 2/3. Maybe that's the ballpark percentage pass for USMLE. But I like to convert it into 3-digit scores because the scales are different for every exam. But it's like, for example, if a 197 is a pass internal, I like students at 205, 210 plus. It's like saying if a particular form you sit happens to have a 64% pass mark, I want your NBMEs to be at like 69. Okay. Not at 65. Like I don't like cutting things close like that. I don't want you YOLOing into your exam. But when you're sitting at like 220, 218, 222, that's very solid. You're like in the low 70s, maybe around 70 or low 70s. Rishab says, glad to know that you like Indian food, Mike. Please visit India sometime. I want to go to India. Carol Martha says, hi, you would love Singapore. A cusp of Indian, Thai, Malay food. Yeah, that'd be sweet. I lived with some Singaporeans in Australia for like a little bit. I can't recall like having had Singaporean food though. Maria, Don Julio or Patron are both trash. Don Julio or Patron are both trash in your opinion? It's been a long time, Maria. Like I literally just got back into tequila. But Don Julio, after I finish this bottle of 1800 that I have, I might go to Don Julio 1942. It's like obviously maybe I don't know. It depends where you buy it, but I'll go to like a more expensive tequila. It's the reason I haven't gone that route immediately is because I need to ease into. I'm not deserving yet of a very expensive tequila. I need to like get into the higher ones. But like in the winter, I like whiskey. I also have Neon Shu, which is a Japanese rice wine. But like Patron, obviously, just classic, like silver Patron, lime and salt. That's like Patron is obviously always. It's like bringing a. I was gonna say this is actually really fucked up, but like years ago, bringing Corona beer to a party was always like a safe bet. Now that sounds like weird, but like Corona beer is like always a safe bet to bring to a party because it's like, oh, it's good beer. Patron is like always a good tequila. Muhammad Jama says same fucking question, Muhammad. Dreamer says, is it true that USMLE tends to be easier at certain times of the year? The answer is no. Kareem says, hey, Mike, can you please give me the best 6 week dedicated plan roughly? I have only 25% of UWorld done. Currently going through your YouTube playlist. I'd want to know if you can move your exam. If you can't, if let's say you can't move your exam, okay, let's just play that. If you cannot move your exam, it's in 6 weeks, and you said you've only finished 25% of UWorld. Um, yeah, I'd really want to know like what your scores are in UWorld at this point, and we'd have to sit NBME 20 offline and see where you're at. Are you passing NBME 20? And how bad, if you're not, how badly are you not passing? Was it just a miss? And if it's just a miss, we can have you do NBME 21. If you're like severely failing, like 180s, for example, equivalent, like under 60%, um, I wouldn't even waste our time on 22 onward. I would just have you go back to uh, UWorld and just have you do more questions. I'd really want you to move that exam. AP Sans, I like that advice for how to do biostats. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, reviewing the NBME's questions, doing my biostats PDF. Edmund says, thank you so much for your dedication to helping us. I'm from Ghana. That's cool, Edmund. Ghana. How's everything over in Ghana? Um let's see. Just lost where I was in the feed. It jumped the whole feed, just jumped down. Let me see. Wow, a lot of fucking questions you guys left in the feed. Holy shit. All right, here we are. Chafik Dahabra says 55% on last NBME for step one. They're 3 weeks out. Am I in bad position? I don't like that, Chafik. I don't like 55%. You're going to sit another NBME. And I want you to get a 3-digit score conversion. If you're under 60%, I'd want to be thinking about moving your exam. 3 weeks out, I'd say you're probably just going to have to move your exam already. 3 weeks out, and you got 55%. It's not where we want to be. Abdullah Trot says, I'm sorry, but I should ask this. No, you're not asking that. Toby says, any tips on how to best memorize conditions with associated antibodies? I mean, my immuno PDF, I have a massive table of all of the like high yield antibodies. Like I have that stuff in my high yield immuno PDF. So that's like, I would go through the immuno PDF. Okay, literally massive table. Lou Jane Faraj says, I'm doing good. How are you doing? I'm from Iraq. That's really cool. Iraq. You guys are like 964, aren't you? Your country code? Unless I'm like cracked out. My step one is in 2 weeks. Any advice? High yield arrows. Yeah, I know high yield arrows really well. AP San says, every disease, that's what you should focus on. Simple but true. Love you, bro. So quick. That's what you deserve all the. Abdullah says, why wouldn't you release the path PDF that ad? Bro, so what happened was I was writing a path PDF and it was like 180 pages and I just chopped it up and added path in the current PDFs. So I made I made various other PDFs longer / revised. Like gastro right now is like a 93-page PDF. There's a lot of path in there as an example. So people keep fucking asking me about path PDF. One of the most annoying questions. Shabnam says, is cardio PDF enough to answer the USMLE? Yes. Excellent PDF. And you're going to do my YouTube playlist. Aya M says, what number should I do for mid prep step one? What does that mean? Which NBME? That's what you're asking. Which NBME should I do for step one prep? You're going to start with NBME 20, NBME's 2021. Sarish says, doing live sessions is very helpful. Thanks. Well, I hope it is. Carson says, which NBME should I give after 25? I already answered your question. You're going to do 20 through 24, free 120. And if you've already done those, you're going to do them again. I don't before you touch 26. Sola says the validity of ECFMG certification, double question mark. Yeah, it just means if you want to practice in the US, you're an IMG, you want to practice in the US, you got to get ECFMG certification. That's all. You have to pass all the USMLEs. Well, now it's just step one, step two. Um, so what the process is: step one, step two, CK. You have to pass the English exam. You have to have a medical degree. Then you can apply for ECFMG certification. Then you're allowed to register for step three. Okay, so that's the sequence. I say because in the past we used to have USMLE 2CS as well instead of this stupid English exam. I sat and I passed the USMLE 2CS first attempt way back. That was like the big thing. That was like a mock patient exam we used to have to deal with. AP Sans says, Mike said to go from lowest number to highest number as you approach your exam. That's correct. MSI says, thank you, doctor. Should I go through first aid quickly before starting UWorld? No. Fia Y Kind says, hey, Mike, thanks for all your teachings. Now I read about that you love chess. Who's your favorite player at the moment? Are you following chess recently? Hikaru Nakamura. He's pretty funny. I don't know if you know Hikaru Nakamura, right? So Hikaru Nakamura. He's pretty funny. Like sometimes if I'm at the gym or something, just for like levity, I'll watch like some of his chess streams. Obviously, everybody loves Magnus. You know, that's like very standard. Like loving Magnus is like, do you like Tiger? Like, did you like Tiger Woods during when he was playing avidly? It's like everybody loved Tiger Woods and still loves Tiger Woods. So I mean, that's like how Magnus will always be. But like Hikaru Nakamura, like I've watched his stream sometimes. Arseny asks, not sure, but I am good at chess. Actually, I am good at chess. Arseny says, not sure if you answered this before, but I am late. What is a safe margin for UWorld? Step 2 CK to skip the incorrects and go into C. Yeah, you can skip the incorrects from QBank for UWorld. I've talked about how you're just going to finish QBank, UWorld, or Amboss, and then you're going to go straight into the CMS forms. If I have you do the incorrects from QBank, it's going to be like later on. If you really need remediation or you're failing or something. Dr. Kiko says, which of your PDFs should I study for step one? All of them. You don't have to do PEDS. You don't have to do the surgery one. You don't have to do the family medicine one. Hey, Mike, what would you recommend? Hey, Mike, how would you recommend incorporating UWSA into 2CK prep? Do it before, in between, or after NBMEs. I don't routinely incorporate UWSAs into people's prep. So if I have someone doing a UWSA, it's because they've exhausted all their NBMEs already. That's what it is. So as I've said already, like if you come to me and you've already sat comp, you've already sat USMLE and you haven't passed, then and you've exhausted all the NBMEs, and sometimes we can look at like older forms like NBME 19, or we could have you do one or both of the UWSAs to get an assessment, but I don't routinely incorporate them into people's prep. Omed64 says, are your videos and PDFs interchangeable, as in using one of them is enough for a given subject? Yeah, I mean, like they're different, obviously. Like, and you guys are going to learn in different ways. Like some of you guys are going to learn best through absorbing through written content, the PDFs, and then there's going to be those of you who that you just prefer to watch videos more casually. You know what I'm saying? So, are they interchangeable? I would say they're literally complementary. Okay, like they're not the same. Like they both provide benefit in different ways. So you got to do both, I would say. Walid Ahmed, how do you improve your performance on general principles? I talked about this actually at the very start of this stream. General principles, quote unquote, like when you guys sit NBME exams, like 25 through 31, let's say online, and then you get like a score report, and then on the score report, there's a bar that says general principles, and you're like, what does that mean? My speculation is that general principles refers to pathophys for basically just any disease. Okay, so like as I talked about, any disease you can think of right now, Duchenne, Hereditary spherocytosis, you got to know the pathophys. So hereditary spherocytosis, you say, do you know the general principles about like that disease pathophys, right? Like anchorin, spectrin, band protein, heterozygosity, autosomal dominant. Do you know like how these conditions work? I'd say a lot of that's general principles. That's my speculation. Eth Hamid says, does your GPA matter regarding the match? Uh, Look, I mean, I'd say it's your USMLE scores, your 2CK score that's like 95%. Um, if you're applying to like a big IV, a pompous, if you're applying to a pompous, supercilious type of institution where, yeah, they're very pompous about like scores and stuff, like GPA might matter more for sure. Like they're gonna want to see that you're top of your class. But if it's not some big institution, like it's really just your USMLE that can override your grades. So it just depends on the institution. Carson, thanks, sir. I gave NBME 25. No, we already talked about it. I already answered that. Carol Martha says also, if someone fails the USMLE step 1 10 years ago, does it still count against you in case I'm applying for a competitive special? Yeah, it would always be on your application. It would always be there, the fail. PJ, but I think as long as there will be programs that eliminate you if you have a fail instantly. Like that'll just be like an objective, like, no, we're not looking at anyone who has a fail. But if you guys, and I know some of you watching this have a fail in the USMLE already, whether it's step 1 or step 2 or both, but don't worry, like you can match. It's just you got to apply broadly, and you got to apply in the transitional years and preliminary years, and you'll be okay. All right, so. Um, yeah, you just got to apply broadly, okay? But correct, there will be some institutions like, no, you're not going to match in a fucking, um, you know, MGH if you have a fail on USMLE. MGH is Mass Gen for Harvard. PJ, just to finish UWorld with 47%, should I continue to NBME 20 or redo UWorld incorrects? Just finish. I want you to do NBME. Yes. So PJ did really shitty, 47% NBME 20 on UWorld. Yes, I want you to do NBMEs 20 and 21. And if you score under 60% on those, I want you to go back to all the UWorld incorrects without proceeding to 22. If you do 60% or above, you can proceed to NBME 22. But I'd really want to be like sitting down with you to discuss the specifics. El Noor says, hey, Mike, I want to know why I'm saying people shouldn't do some cuck resource. It's because I don't want people wasting time. Let's see. Any questions I haven't answered specifically? Toby says, a lot of love from Israel. What is the item you cannot leave home without? No smarty answers. Like, what is the item you cannot leave home without? Well, like my yarmulke? Is that what it is? Can't leave home without a yarmulke in Israel. Well, I'm trying to think. I pretty much go nowhere without my skateboard, if that's what you're asking. If there's an item I can't leave home without, like if I don't have my skateboard, I feel like weird. Like I'm always carrying my skateboard, always, always. Like when I'm out, it's very weird if I don't have my skateboard. Jenny Woolwin says, when you get down to 2 questions, how to choose the right one, you say you always choose wrong. Yeah, I've talked about this where if you don't know, choose the most common answer. Okay, I've said this a million times. Like sometimes the answer really is just going to be asthma, not bronchoalveolar carcinoma. Okay, so common things are common. Don't change your answer when you aren't 100% sure. So if you have a gut feeling about an answer, go with it. Don't change your answer. Muskin MGN says, are your PDFs enough to answer UWorld step 1? Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not concerned about you answering UWorld step 1, quote unquote. Like, you're allowed to do shitty in QBank. I'm happy for you to get like low percentages in QBank. You have to move through QBank. So if you're going through and you're getting blocks in like the 30s, like fine, just continue moving through QBank, okay? And you're going to do my PDF simultaneous to QBank. And the idea, the real question should be, are my PDFs enough to answer the NBME exams. Okay. So, which the answer to that is pretty much no. Like the sequence needs to be that you're not hopping off the street straight into the NBME exams. The sequence is going to be that you're doing QBank first with my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs, and then you're going to go into the NBME exams. And your prep is going to end on the NBME exams. Najibullah says, hello. As of now, step 1 is pass fail. Do you recommend to take step 2 first? Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. And the reason is because your numerical step 2 score is everything for your application. So the way you're going to maximize your step 2 score is by sitting step 1 first as it's supposed to be in the sequence. Okay. So yeah, if you sit step 2 before step 1, by definition, you will score lower on step 2. It's just how it works, because step 1 preps you for step 2 really, really well. And I even if you're fresh out of clinicals, for instance, unless the student or doctor absolutely insists that he or she wants to sit step 2 first, I strongly recommend against that. Okay. So Learn English with Omnia says, are anti-HIV drugs high yield? Yes, they are. Yazid Kamel says, like a longer version of your MCQs, but instead of one question, it's many, one after the other. It's possible, Yazid. I could do some sort of marathon. You're right. Maybe I don't know if I do a live thing with it, but I could potentially do something like that. Lath says, does your GPA, we already talked about GPA. RP asks, if scores aren't going up after finishing UWorld and all CMS forms, should I repeat UWorld or just keep doing CMS? What I want you doing, RP, is you're not going to worry about your scores in UWorld. You're going to do all of UWorld or Amboss for TCK. Then you're going to do all the CMS forms, okay? Don't worry about your scores. You're just going to do all of them. Then when you're done with the first pass of all the CMS forms, 45 to 50-ish forms, then you're going to do NBME 6 through 8 offline, and we're going to see how you scored on those, okay? And if your scores were catastrophic, I could have you do UWorld, go back to UWorld and corrects. If your scores were like okay, but we obviously want them to be higher, I'm just going to have you do another pass of all the CMS forms like normal. I've said 2 passes. Then you're going to do free 120. Then you're going to do NBMEs 9 and 10. And if your scores, like if you're not happy with your scores on 9 and 10, I would have you do all the QBank and corrects. If we're generally content with the scores on 9 and 10, I would just move you through 11 through 13. Then you sit. Asa Samuel says, hi, Doc. Are your YouTube playlists such as renal, endocrine, pulmonary more geared towards students prepping for step 1, or is also hired for step 2? It's for both exams. Efrainum Castillo says, recommendations for OBGYN, please. You're going to do my OBGYN PDF. Okay, I have that. It's a mixed OBGYN repro PDF for step 1, step 2. And I clearly demarcate, I label within that PDF what section is for step 1, what's for step 2 in there. So, but you're going to go through that PDF. You're going to go through my OBGYN playlist on the YouTube. Okay, that's what you're going to do. And obviously, QBank questions. That's all. It's more of a lengthy discussion for shelf as well, because of course the CMS forms, you got to go through the OBGYN CMS forms if you're on rotation. And then some students who have an extended OBGYN rotation, like many students might just have like 8 weeks of OBGYN. Okay. If you have, let's say, a 12-week OBGYN rotation, something ridiculous, occasionally these things pop up. I will have students occasionally do another QBank called UWISE. UWISE, nothing to do with UWorld, okay? And that's an OBGYN specific mini QBank. I'm not joking. I only recommend that if you have an extended OBGYN rotation where your school is like 12 weeks or something. Occasionally I have students go ham on OBGYN that way. Drowned in Game says, Mike, name 3 favorite movies. Pulp Fiction, The Fifth Element, and maybe Born Identity. Yeah, Pulp Fiction, The Fifth Element, Born Identity. Yeah, those are fucking 3 excellent movies. The Fifth Element's fucking amazing. Bruce Willis. It's such a good movie, The Fifth Element. Ahmed Khan says, done with UWorld and NBME 29. Let's see. I'm gonna do 15 more minutes of USMLE Qs, and then we'll switch into non-med Qs. You guys can get me. So if you're watching this clip right now, and you want to know like non-med stuff, you want to do non-med talk, we can do that after 15 minutes. But I got to make this about you right now. Done with UWorld and NBME 29. Let's see. Hey, Mike, I gave NBME 26 offline, got 60% correct, then gave UWSA 1, I bombed it. I got 192. I've pushed my exam back and be the best way to get 230s on NBME is UWSA 2. You got to go through my fucking PDFs, dude. I've said this a million times. If your scores, any of you watching this right now, if your scores are not where you want them to be in QBank and NBMEs, ask yourself, have you gone through my fucking PDFs? Okay. Have you gone through my YouTube MCQs? You got to do that stuff. Okay. So Ahmed Alokda says, what's the safe score in NBME to pass the real deal? I'd say about 2/3, but I like seeing people above 70. That's a nice buffer in terms of percentage. Drowning Game says, by the way, totally fucked with step 2 because can't have time because of university. Fuck me. Yeah, that makes sense. School gets in the way of step 1 prep. Aninia says, I passed step 1, Mike. Thanks for all your resources. Thanks, Aninia. So Keeb says, thank you a lot, Mike, for doing so much. Mady Carolina Guzman Meja MD says, I'm making 61% in NBMEs. Okay, so you're just below passing. I've done 30% UWorld with an average. No. So you got to finish Meta Carolina. You got to finish UWorld before you do the NBMEs. It makes sense that you're not performing well in NBMEs. Like there's a sequence. You got to do QBank first. Don't touch another NBME until you finish QBank. Okay. What do you suggest to increase my score? Yeah. Hey, Mike, thank you for all that you do. David Babatomiwa says, hello, scoring between 68% and 72% on enemies 28, 29, and 31. Is that a safe score to write USMLE? That's a pretty good score range, I would say. But I'd want to see all your scores. Judah, scoring between 60 to 70 on second pass of UWorld with 15% finished. Should I keep going or move? No. You're going to do all of UWorld. You're not moving to the NBMEs early. Ola Noor says, I got 77% NBME 30 last week. Solid, but I still don't feel confident to sit for the exam. What's your advice? That's trolling to a lot of people here because obviously a lot of people here are just trying to pass, and you have 77% on NBME, which is high. Okay, so how you feel though is unrelated to how you're going to be scoring. So I mean, like if you're scoring like 84%, you would still feel in some ways like you're not prepared. So that feeling never goes away. AAA says mid-50s on NBME. Is it possible to pass step 1 in a month? I would say no. Like the answer is yes. Don't let me be an asshole. Okay. Like it's possible, sure. For most people, no. And it's more because I don't want you YOLOing. That's why. Like if it's literally like a life or death situation where like, you come to me and you're like, I'm gonna get kicked out of med school, literally. There's nothing we can do. I have to fucking sit in a month, no questions asked. I had mid-50s on NBME. Can I pass in a month? They'll say, fine, we're gonna nuclear our fucking way through all the NBME exams, 20 through 31, free 120 this next month, hardcore. Like this is what we're doing right now. Anki review of all these incorrects. Like you got to pound the fucking NBME exams and fucking show me, okay? And then like maybe you're up at like 66% on NBME by the end of the month, and we're like just on the fucking cusp of passing, and you take it and you pass. And I've had students in situations like that before where their school says you have to fucking sit or we're kicking you out of school and we can't move the exam. I don't like YOLOing like that, okay? But there's students who've passed doing that, okay? So it's possible. I prefer more of a buffer. I'd prefer more time. Digoxin small dose says pathology PDF. You're an asshole. Abdullah Ahmed says, I'm done with 80% UWorld. Do I need to go through it again in my dedicated period? The answer is no. During your dedicated period, you're not touching QBank. You're just going to do the NBMEs. Waleed Ahmed says it's smart to study for step 1 and step 2 concurrently. No, it's a terrible idea. You're going to study step 1 and you're going to do step 1 first. Then you're going to go on to step 2. Omid64 says, no, you already asked that. I'm just ignoring some of the repeat questions now. How to improve cardiology, my cardiology PDF, biostats, my biostats PDF. What's the best way to study your PDFs? When you're going through QBank, I've said you're going to do a morning session of 40 questions. You're going to take lunch and then you're going to have my PDFs as like your afternoon/evening. That's a good way to do it. If you mean like annotating and stuff, you don't need to annotate, just read. Malak is asking a provocative question. That's like a very feminist question, Malak. You must be like a blue pill beta simp. Um, I'm just joking, dude. Mashoud, I'm just joking. Malak, like, relax. Mashoud Faruqi says, "Hey, Mike." But when you ask a provocative question like that, like, if you make a hook, like or you take like a left jab or something, I mean, like, what do you want me to do? Mashub Farouk says, "Hey Mike, would you recommend doing UWSA for TCK?" The answer is no. If yes, then do we do them before, in between, or after NBMEs? I've said that I don't advise doing UWSAs unless you've exhausted all of the NBME content or you've taken prior fails, which of course you've exhausted all the NBME content, and we need more assessment. Then I can incorporate UWSAs, but I don't routinely incorporate them into people's prep. Axon asks, is your surgery PDF plus CMS 1 through 8 forms sufficient for the surge shelf? You need to do the QBank questions from surgery. You've not had IM yet. You need to do all the QBank questions like from UWorld or Amboss for surgery. And yes, the CMS forms 1 through 8 twice. You're going to do those twice for your shelf exam. For any shelf you guys are on, you're going to do the respective CMS forms twice prior to that shelf. That'll help you get high pass honors. And you're going to do the PDF and my YouTube playlist. Do the surgery YouTube questions I have on my playlist. Okay, do that. Maoz Ali says, IMG here, yet to do GI, endo, repro, and renal systems, done with everything else. Roughly speaking, when should I sit step 1? Haven't started UWorld either. You haven't done UWorld, dude. You have to do the QBank first. It's a lot to talk about there. 3 months. UWorld is superior to Amboss, Breh, according to Harris. That's fine. I mean, people can have opinions. I just think that if you guys want to choose Amboss or UWorld, they're non-superior. I think like I've had enough data points, enough feedback from students where it's like Amboss has kind of they've proven themselves. I mean, they have enough like social proof at this point, enough usage, enough positive like people experiences, people using them, that I'm happy to say they're non-superior. Like I don't think that if you do Amboss as opposed to UWorld that you're at a disadvantage. Like I don't think that. Like I think UWorld has a lot of superfluous questions. You know, there's drawbacks to both QBanks. Amboss tends to be like hyper nitpicky sometimes, like way too fucking nitpicky. But both QBanks have drawbacks. That's fine, but they're non-superior to each other in my view. Zain Ali says, I'm on 20% UWorld. When am I supposed to do NBME? When you finish UWorld. Don't touch an NBME, Zain, until you finish UWorld. Will I make a micro PDF for Anki soon? The high yield derm PDF I have is loaded with Anki. What the fuck am I saying right now? It's loaded with micro. It's 4:23 a.m. So this is like where I start to transition to being like cracked out of it. Arseny K says, completely off topic, but with the forest fires in Canada, the smoke is coming down and Newark Airport looks like it's on Venus because it's so orange and smoky. How's it smell over there? Is it like does it smell like a nice campfire? Could be like a good smell for like a little bit, right? This campfire. But you'd want to you don't want to be breathing in that stuff. You want to, I guess you'd have to wear a mask, right? If you're like walking out in the soot. Presh A says, is he answering any questions from the general chat or just the paid chats? Are there paid chats here? If you guys are paying for chat, if you guys are like doing super chats, I didn't even know. I'm just looking at the live chat. Someone asked about paid chats. I didn't know. I haven't seen any super chats pop up. So either you guys haven't got any super chats, which there's no entitlement. I haven't asked for that, but I don't even know if that's on. I don't know if I turn super chats on. I don't know if I've done that. Let me see. I lost where I was in the chat. Sometimes if someone comments, like the whole fucking chat moves down and then I like lose the question I was reading. Here we are. Galib Khan says, I think you may have just answered this one, but if my basic knowledge is weak for step 2, also do arrows PDF question mark? Yeah, do the arrows PDF for step 2. Ahmed Khan, hey Mike brother, I used to work at English as an English second language teacher in China during my med school. It was an awesome experience. Do you also work as an English teacher in Japan? Don't mind. Uh, no, I don't work as an English teacher. I did it for fun for maybe maybe like 7 times, back when because I did a Japanese immersion school here, in 2016, 2017. So I was in a Japanese immersion school, and I was always teaching USMLE. I've never stopped doing that, even from med school. So I was teaching USMLE at the time, and I didn't need an English teaching job. I didn't need that. But I had a classmate, one of my friends at the Japanese school I was at, he started teaching English, and he was like, "Yo, you gotta like try this or whatever." He was doing it because it was a way for him to like meet girls. So he was like, you should teach English here at the school I'm at. And I went in there, and it was pretty much just like, yeah, I'm a doctor, and so I like basically just was like, here's my med degree, and then they just hired me, and like I was literally I taught English for like maybe 5 weeks, like twice a week. Like I didn't need the job. I did it for the experience, just to see like what is it like to teach English. Like what is that experience like? Um, but it was like after maybe like the first like couple weeks, I was like, this is like not something I want to do, or I don't need to do it. So I just like stopped doing it after like maybe 5 weeks. Um, but I did meet a couple girls doing that. Let's see. Of course, right? That's like what I had to like comment on at the end. Mashoud Faruqi says, "Hey Mike, asking again, how would you recommend incorporating UWSA into 2CK prep?" Before, no, I've already talked about that. I don't advise doing UWSA. I'll switch to non-med questions like pretty soon because it's 4:26 a.m. So when we hit the 2 hour mark, I'm gonna switch into it's 1:57, 1 hour 57 minutes. I'm gonna switch into like non-med stuff. So if you guys are still in the chat right now, we're gonna do non-med questions like very soon. James Yates says which chat questions he's answering. Well, James, the reason you feel like it's because it's taking me a while to go through, move down the chat. That's why. So Moyes Escobar says, what is the reasoning behind doing a second pass of the CMS forms? It's because your scores fucking matter for 2CK, and the CMS forms are the same as the NBME, the same as the real USMLE. So if you know those questions hardcore, it would be like akin to saying like, you got to know NBME. I'm just giving you an example. It would be like you got to know NBMEs 20 through 24. Or let's say NBME is like 17 through 24. I'm telling you to memorize those prior to doing like newer ones. It's similar for 2CK. It's like I really want you to know that material well because it's not a pass fail exam. Like you have to ace 2CK. So that's why I say I might have a student who says I don't want to do 2 passes of the CMS forms. Like I don't want to spend the time doing that. And I say, okay, don't score higher on 2CK then. I mean, like I don't know what to tell you. Like it's 95% of your application, right? So, I mean, let's see. Judah says, you look like a Henny, a Coke type of guy. Coke as in the NET and DET reuptake inhibitor. Axon asks, is there a consolidated resource PDF that has all the high yield surgery algorithms? Well, you don't really need algorithms per se. See, this is the thing. When you guys are studying for USMLE, you're under the assumption that like how much you know is going to equal a higher score as an output, and that's not the case. Okay, like you don't need to memorize all these like algorithms. Like it's a waste of time. Like you pretty much just need to like do the surgery QBank questions, do my surgery YouTube MCQs, do my surgery PDF, do all the surgery CMS forms. Don't worry about algorithms. Just like do questions. Okay. Sachi asked, my PDS folks for step one or step two, both. We're gonna move into non-med questions like pretty soon. If you guys are live, if you guys are still in the chat right now, and I appreciate you being here, I'm gonna move into like non-med questions pretty soon. TQ asks, apologies if I missed this, but what's the order of NBMEs that you suggest after completion of UWorld? I've said for step one, 20 through 24, then free 120, then 25 through 30 for step two. You're going to do all this after UWorld, you're going to do all the CMS forms, then 6 through 8, then double pass the CMS forms, then free 120, then 9 through 13. Find myself asked, what are my thoughts on Andrew Tate? I think that even if you strongly disagree, if any person strongly disagrees or doesn't like him, or I don't think people's speech should be canceled. Okay, so I really think that it's not good to cancel people, even if you vehemently disagree. I think people need to have a voice. That is extremely important. Let's see. Galib Khan says, asking more very convoluted question about UWorld. So we're gonna move into non-med questions here. I'm just gonna start scrolling down the chat. So any med questions I haven't answered. If you guys want to ask non-med questions, I'll see them down in the chat. I'm just scrolling down. David, Baba, Tuma, Mike, you're awesome. Thanks. Toby says exactly. I asked about skateboard, wanted to try, but I'm degenerate. Yeah, I've been skateboarding 12 and a half years. Now we're gonna do non-med stuff now. If you guys are live right now, still here, we're gonna do non-med questions. I'm not gonna answer really med questions now. We just did 2 hours of med questions. So if you think I'm an asshole and you say, well, Mike, this is like a USMLE, Q&A or whatever. I just did med questions for like 2 hours. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna scroll down. Let's see. But real quick, Luri Babaran says, what lab values would you recommend to memorize? I said this before. Sodium, potassium, pH, bicarb. You got to know those. I would know hemoglobin, calcium. I'm sure there's others, but those are like the high-yield ones that come to mind like instantly. BUN, creatinine. Okay, so Mustafa says, too many hot chicks in this chat. Now I understand why. How would you know? How would you know? Like, there's no thumbnails how would you, I don't know how you would like assess that. Cause like, I just see like blank thumbnails. I don't know I don't know, like, AAA asks, when are the spinning plates videos coming back? Oh, like when am I gonna make more like dating videos? Is that what you're asking? I might not, man. Like I really might not. Like I'm not sure. Like that content, I tend to like. I don't produce it avidly. Clearly, like I tend to produce that in bursts. So like that. There might be more videos in the future, but it's not something like I think it'll be a surprise, like when I first popped up on here doing like like when I did the first live stream the other day, and some of you were probably like, oh shit, like that came out of nowhere kind of thing. I mean, that's how it might be in that type of content as well. That's right. Arseny says, but it comes in waves, but a constant. You're still talking about the fire? Or no, we're talking about Agent Fresh. I just lost your question, Agent Fresh. Where are you? Where is Agent Fresh's question? Agent Fresh, what happened to Cold Approach YouTube channel? It's still there. I just haven't added anything to it. I tend to just write sometimes. I've got like my own active community, like with that external. I try to keep a degree of separation. You know what I mean? Like obviously that makes sense. People aren't fucking stupid. Like people impose their judgments or whatever. People like know, but like I don't. I have like my own separate community for that. It's smaller now. That's what's weird. Is like med. I've been able to like grow. Waleed Ahmed says, Did you find your micro knowledge came up during your rotations? My micro knowledge? Not really. Micro? Like I had an ID, infectious disease, like component to my like internal medicine maybe, but like it didn't I don't think micro came up at all. Um Uvara Judge says step one for second time test takers who has took all NBMEs failed first time. How to reassess for second attempt? How much should one score? You're just gonna have to redo the NBMEs. Like I said, I'm gonna do non-med questions now, but you just have to redo the NBME exams. If you failed step one, you say, well, where am I sitting? I'd want you sitting the NBME exams again. And if they're catastrophic, you say, well, I already sat them, so they're inflated. It's either going to restart just going through the NBME exams, or we're going to have to go all the way back through QBank again. Okay, that's what's going to have to be. So I'll do non-med questions. You guys have any non-medical questions right now? What is your hobby that give you energy to be awesome? No nonsense teacher. Yeah, dude, that's like, I meet a lot of people and I take a lot of no nonsense. I'm trying to be very like conservative with my words here, but I have certain hobbies where I incur adversity, and I think that's important. Mojal says, "Why people in Reddit hate you?" Uh, yeah, I mean, like, I think you really. It's a good idea not to impose negative judgments on people, because like, especially in medicine, that's the thing. Like that's the irony of the whole thing. Like you don't, it's but I don't come off the most conventional. So people are going to be quick to be like, oh, he's like an asshole or something. Like that's like I get that, but I'm not working in like a hospital. Like I'm not showing up looking like this, like in front of patients. Like I don't. You guys aren't fucking patients, okay? Like I don't need to have like a fucking stethoscope. That's real cuck shit. Mustafa, because they're cuck. Mustafa, you fucking nailed it, dude. I didn't even see your comment. Your literal follow up comment was because they're cuck. They are fucking cuck. You know what's hilarious is like there's a dude in my dating community who's like his name is fucking Mustafa as well. And let's see, Ash Toronto says, "Why are you wearing makeup?" LOL. Yeah, I mean it's called looks maxing. But I'm also like in Asia. It's not like a big deal here. I'm like what like dude, it's hard for me to like fit in terms of because Japanese guys are really fucking like feminine and beta and like I'm not. So like if I wear like makeup or something and that's like considered by like westerners to be like weird, that's not like weird here. But I don't come off I can't be feminine like even if I try. Like I'm not a feminine fucking dude. Um Ren Suri says people need a voice for sure. We were talking about like Andrew Tate before. Yeah. I just don't think canceling people is good. I think even if you strongly disagree with people, that people should have a voice. People should not worry about like threat of cancellation. I think that's a very dangerous slope. Non-med questions. Rinsuri RB Rena says, "What was your favorite part of living in Australia?" Um, My favorite part of living in Australia were the road trips, probably. I went on several road trips because I lived in Brisbane on the East Coast. So Brisbane is more, so you have Sydney in the southeast, and then maybe an hour and a half flight north, or like maybe 10, 12-hour drive. You had Brisbane, and then Brisbane's the capital of Queensland. So there's beaches like north and south, but I'd gone on some road trips like from Brisbane down to Melbourne, and then Brisbane up to Cairns. I did road trip in New Zealand, around the South Island. Been North Island a couple times too, but I did a road trip around the South Island. I went skydiving and bungee jumping South Island, New Zealand, within this same 24-hour period. Flew from Brisbane to Perth, which is Western Australia. Drove from Perth up to Broome, which is Northwestern Australia. Broome is known for their pearls. They have like 80% of the world's export of pearls and jewelry. They have natural camels, and they have the world's widest beach. It was literally like walking the Sahara Desert at night. Like you couldn't see the ocean, you couldn't see you were just lost. But it was like the beach. It was like the Sahara Desert. It was amazing. And then we drove from Broome all the way over to Darwin, which is Northern Territory. It's fucking amazing. That was the best part of living in Australia. Okay, like the road trips in Australia. Answering non-medical questions right now. If you guys have non-medical questions. Ahmed says, well, it's non-medical to a degree. Any plans to reapply for residency? I never applied for residency. Or you hate practicing medicine? I don't hate. I have no interest in practicing medicine. I talked about in the last live stream that like if I practiced medicine, it would be family medicine, 100%. I love family medicine. That was my favorite rotation in med school, and also I would go to like Hawaii or Alaska or something, just because I like travel aspect. That's what I would do. Alan C says, "How often do you work out, and how long are your workouts?" 5 days a week, and maybe my workouts are like minimum 2 hours, because I'll do like weights, and then I do like abs, and then sometimes I run. Like I haven't run in the past week because I'm on a surplus week. I'm trying to bulk this week, but I'm gonna have to do like another running week, probably like middle of this month, or it's gonna happen again. Diedrich Champion says, "Did you watch the interview with the former intelligence official? Apparently, U.S. Gov has retrieved alien aircraft." I have not seen that. I'm sure like it's on Joe Rogan's podcast though. I have not seen that, but I doubt it. There's no alien fucking aircraft, dude. It would be like a spy plane or something. If aliens like actually like were here, they're not going to be communicating to us in like human terms, speaking English. That's like not what's going to happen. Like it's do our ants that are walking around the ground, are they aware of us around them and the world around them? Like they're not aware of us. Okay, this is 4:41 a.m. So if this talk sounds really fucking weird, just deal with it. So like are ants walking around the ground outside aware of humans around them? No, the answer is no, because there's too large of an intelligence gap. Okay, so I'd say it's similar. If there's quote unquote aliens around, um, I don't think that we are capable of being aware. I don't think we're aware of them. I think there's probably too much of an intelligence gap. Like this notion of like atomic, physics and stuff, like neutrinos and subatomic particles and all this stuff could just be like that's like our way of observing like, their computer program, like the simulation theory or something. There's probably too much of an intelligence gap where we don't know that they're just here. They're just around us. We just don't know. Let me see. I just lost what the fucking question. Lost what I was reading. We're doing non-medical questions right now. Do I have unusual hobbies? Arseny asked, do I have unusual hobbies, e.g. collecting knife, axe throwing, archery, matcha tea? I do. Well, I do. I am into like matcha stuff for sure. Like I do have an actual like a bowl for matcha and hojicha. I mean, like, look, in terms of quote unquote unusual hobbies, like, yes, I do. I do have unusual hobbies, but it's not like, I try to keep it separate from my medical stuff. But it's like, I do have unusual hobbies. I do that I'm not going to necessarily talk about, that I shouldn't talk about. Learn English with Omnia. Thank you, Mike. Ahmed Hendy says, love you, Dr. Mike. Mojo says advice about self-confidence. Look, dude, if you want to be more confident, you have to get rejected a lot. The more adversity you subject yourself to, the more confident you'll be. You have to get told no a lot. You have to incur adversity. Earl's fun fact, my family says I'm cursing so much, I wonder why. That's funny. Find myself, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I don't know. No, I really don't. Because like, dude, 10 years ago, what? 10 years ago, 2013, I was in Australia. So I mean, look, I was in Boston for university, and then I moved to Australia. Like I wouldn't have said I was going to move to Australia. I lived in Australia for 7 years. Like I wouldn't have thought that. So like I moved to Australia, and then I would have thought, oh, maybe I'll practice in Australia, or maybe I'll like go to the U.S. or something. And then I didn't know I'd be in Japan, so I have no fucking idea. Like, will I be in Korea? I don't know. Will I be in like Europe or something? I really don't know. I'm not sure. 10 years in terms of where I'll be. In terms of fulfillment, when you ask about like family, kids, all that stuff, that's more of a that's a very unconventional discussion. I'm not conventional on that front. It's like when I'm just when you're very unconventional and you're attempting to have these conversations in in a community, when you have a community that's like it's more of a conservative area. Like this isn't like you guys aren't like a motorcycle community. This isn't like a motorcycle chat or something, right? Or like knife throwing. This isn't a hunting chat or something like where we hunt deer. It's not. This is like a medical. I'm not fucking conservative like on that in terms of my life and what I do, but I mean, um, I still am like have to be careful to a degree with how I articulate things. Like I do have enough cognizance on that front. Georgie says, "Can I pass through PDFs only?" No, no. I want you to do QBank. I have said that. Non-medical questions. Where do I live? I live in Osaka, Japan, not Tokyo. Just answering non-medical cues right now. Um, don't want to reapply for. I never applied for residency. There's no reapply. Tell us about your family. They're in the United States, most of them. I've got family around the world actually, but my parents are in the United States right now. I've got a sister in California. Ash Toronto says, "Are you transgender?" The answer is no. I'm 100% straight, just to be clear. Like not even like 0.1% anything else. Like I'm literally 110% straight. And maybe that's why I'm so comfortable with just like doing whatever the fuck I want, right? It's because like I'm not like I'm just very comfortable with knowing I'm fully straight. Yes. Have I ever been with a guy or anything like that? Absolutely not. And that no, definitely not. 100% straight. And even I'm careful articulating my views on that because do I have friends or am I like accepting of that community, like people who are LGBT? Of course. Like I have an uncle who, uh, like he has a husband and like, I mean, so I'm accepting of people who like one of my best friends growing up was gay, but like, no, I'm 100% straight. Let me see. I lost where I was in the chat. Let me see. Um, Natek Singh says, any anime you're seeing right now? No, I'm not actually. There's some like chick I start like I've been hanging out with a little bit who's like hardcore into anime, but like I'm not into anime. Like I don't like watch anime really. Like I told you I watch JoJo a little bit, but like what do I think about mewing? Agent Fresh says favorite books. Um weirdly and because like weirdly enough, Gone with the Wind, I read that when I was in med school actually. That's a good book. I never seen the movie. I've only read the book. Isn't that weird? And I don't want to see the movie because I have my own like image of how of like everything, all the characters from Gone with the Wind from the book. I don't want to see the movie. More med questions. I don't want to answer med questions right now. We're at the end of the chat, so I'm gonna just do non-med questions right now. Reen Suri RB says, "Wow, you totally can do a travel review of Australia. Sounds so cool." Um, Port Macquarie in the southeast was really good. Um, yeah, but I lived in Brisbane. And yeah, Brisbane's like warm beach culture, like beaches north and south. Like I used to go like first year med, I had like one of my buddies, like we used to go to the beach and surf. But I picked up skateboarding when I was in second year medicine. The start of second year medicine when I was 24. So I mean, I'm 36 right now, but when I was 24, that's when the day before my 24th birthday is when I picked up skateboarding. And that was in Mooloolaba, Australia. It's a beach town. Munaza asked, "Did I do residency in the U.S.?" The answer is no. I have no interest. Reams asked about biochemistry. I'm on non-med questions right now. Do I speak Japanese? Asked Shay. The answer is yes. I mean, but it's like saying like if you were to go into like a fourth grade classroom, like do they speak English? The answer is yes, but it's not the same English as like a graduate student or like I'm like street fluent. Like I can like talk with people on the street fine, but like I'm not like a fucking banker. Okay? Like I don't rely on Japanese to like do my job clearly. So like I've only hit a certain level and then I sort of just like I'm just like street fluent. So I'll have like cafe conversations with people quite a bit. How good is university rotation as compared to hospital? So Umida Geneva asking, Nihongo hanasemasu ka? So Nihongo hanasemasu, do I speak Japanese? But you're writing in English, which is really fucking weird right now. Dore gurai Nihongo o benkyo How long did I study Japanese? Hold on. Well, I was in immersion school. Like, I studied hardcore like 15 months maybe, but I was technically in immersion school 2 years. But like the most of my like grammar, all that stuff was like formally better when I was in the immersion school, and like I could write better. Like now I can't write for shit. But it's like how often? Think about this. You guys watching this? How often do you literally with a fucking like pen or pencil write in English? Like never, or Arabic or whatever you speak, right? Like never. Like you type it, right? Like how often do you literally pick up a fucking pen and write in English? So it's like that with like Japanese. Like I used to be able to write like all the maybe over 1,000 kanji, like 1,000 characters. I was always fast with kanji when I was in the school here, but like I don't write that shit, so I can text it with no problem. But like writing it, I've pretty much like I've kind of forgotten a lot of that because I did that like 5 years ago. Um, what surprised you the most about living in Japan? Outdoor vending machines. They've got outdoor vending machines that have literally like everything, alcohol on the street. Like in the United States and Australia, like you only see vending machines like inside buildings or like inside a gym or something, right? Like, but there's vending machines on the street here. Now that's not weird for me anymore, but like I remember when I first got here, that was like weird. There's also like a vending machine near me where you can buy like blankets and stuff. So there's like a lot of that. Abdul wants to know how much I bench. I can bench 120 kilos. Reen Sari Reese says, totally got to keep so much separate from medicine. I really, well, yeah, as I said, this isn't like a fucking motorcycle chat. You know, this isn't like, yeah. Agent Fresh, thoughts on the book The Game by Neil Strauss. I read like some of that when I was 19. When I was 19 and I was in university, I had like a bad breakup with like I was at Boston. I had like a bad breakup with like a girlfriend at the time. She was from Cuba. She was like she was Cuban, but she was like raised in Miami. But I remember I had like a bad breakup, and two of my friends at the university they like gave me The Game, and it was like like this leather book with gold on it, and like I read a little bit, but I didn't like. Maybe I read like a third of it. But in terms of what I actually like think of the content of it, I mean, yeah, it's like I don't have deep opinions on it. It more just ends that like I acknowledge like for that moment in time, it was like it was very popular. But that maybe that was like my intro into stuff. My intro into like being able to meet people, my ability to like put myself out there was probably when I was like 25. That's when I started to be able to like meet people. Jeff wants to know, do I have a chest elo? The answer is no. No, no, no. I'm not serious like that. I'm very casual. It's more like for someone who doesn't play chess, for someone who doesn't formally play chess like me, if I just like start playing someone randomly who also doesn't formally play chess, I usually win. That's usually the situation. But if you fucking like study chess and you're like, I'm so amazing, I got my fucking like, 1950, like I'm not like one of those people. I've never studied fucking chess. I've never studied openers. Like I've never done that. But as I said, if I just like sit in front of a fucking board and there's someone else who sits in front of a fucking board and neither one of us have studied chess, which, as I said, I haven't, I tend to win. I think if I studied chess, I would have been good. Let me see. George is asking about my PDFs again. How's it? Rena says, "What advice would you give your younger self in the lowest life moment?" I had like really bad influences growing up in terms of like really like negativity around my appearance. That was really like a big thing for me growing up. That was like I'm not going to name certain people, but I had like bad influences growing up about appearance. So like that for me was like a big. I'm 36 now, and like the fact that I'm even able to talk about this is like it's not a problem for me. But like I used to have so much shame around that. Like talking about that or something was like a huge fucking deal. But that for me would have been like, you know, I would have it would have been learning that you have to put yourself out there and get rejected repeatedly, and then you learn it's not about you. That's pretty much what it is. Um, yeah, you have to like you hear the cliche like you can't care about other people's opinions more than your opinion about yourself. It's like you hear that cliche, but it's like okay, great. Well, fucking, how do you apply that? Like, how do you actually like cool, like awesome, but like how do you actually apply that? You apply that by like if you put yourself in a position where you meet people and you take rejections a lot, that toughens you the fuck up. So that's like the vibe that when I give off that vibe, or some people think I give off that vibe, that's where it comes from. Joy Raheb Kalo says, "Do you believe in God?" Look, here's the thing, dude. Because I know there's a lot of religious people in my community. Okay, and if I said anything other than yes, I believe in God 100%, absolutely, that would like people would be like, Mike, you're like bad. Um, look, I went through a fucking religious phase when I was like, I mean, I said I've been to Israel 4 times. Okay, I mean, but like I went through a religious phase when I was early 20s. I used to wear a yarmulke. I used to wear tefillin. I'm not religious now. I'd say I'm agnostic now. Um, I've had certain bad things. I've had very bad things happen in my life that have like made me just question the like the universe and structure. But like this notion of God, like, do I believe in layers to like consciousness and intelligence? And I do believe in all that, and that could be what some people call God. Like, of course, God is not a gray bearded like figure. Okay, like we get that. But like the notion of like, as I just said, do I believe in greater consciousness, overall layers and complexity? The answer is yes. Um, but in terms of how it applies in my life and how I actually structure my daily life, like no, I do not pray 5 times a day. Like no, I do not keep kosher. Like or halal. I don't eat halal meat. Okay, so like but I went through a spiritual phase. Like when I was 21, I prayed in like the stairwell at my old university. Like I went through a religious like phase. Um, that's like a long story though, but like I'm not at all that way now. Like clearly, like at all. But as I said, some bad things happened in my life, and that just made me like more agnostic. And I also observe a lot of bad around me. Like it's not a pessimist. Like what you know, I see people around me who like are low socioeconomic status, who like can't walk, or they like, and I just say like that stuff makes me like question. Ahmed Khan says, Mike, do you believe in marriage? For some people that works. That's a long discussion as well. I mean, it's my views are unconventional. Okay, my views are very unconventional. So like, it's hard to bridge that gap. It's hard to articulate things in a way where it doesn't immediately evoke negative judgment on behalf of other people. I'm not afraid of anyone's opinion. It's not that. It's just I have to balance things. I'm very mindful of like, as I've already said numerous times, this isn't with this. We're not in like a community where we're talking about like leather jackets or guns or something. This is like a medical community where, um, but my views are unconventional. Like I'm okay with like children out of wedlock. I think that's okay. I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think that like populations are declining. And I think there's too much like I'm pro life. I'm pro life. Settling down. Ahmed Khan wants to know settling down for one girl. Probably not for me. Um, just Miriam says, want to thank you, Mike. It would be very difficult for a girl to lock me down. That would not happen. Like any female that I'd be with, like would knows that like they kind of turn a blind eye. There's more medical questions. I don't want to answer medical questions right now. Nokia Brooks. Mike, love your content, everything that you are doing. I think if you asked us to drink the Kool-Aid, we would. LOL. Thank you for everything. Look forward to our session. Come to NOLA. Come to NOLA. Ethiopia. Cram. Mike, we love you as you are. Do whatever you want. Ahmed Khan says, wow, my sister also stays in California. Yeah, my sister's in well, I'm not gonna like dox her fucking location. I'm not gonna say that. But yeah, I have a sister in California. How'd I end up in Japan? When I was in fourth year med, I my ex-girlfriend at the time in Australia, she and I visited Osaka for 3 days, and I was just like done. Like I was like, I'm moving here. And yeah, that's what happened. I just decided like 6 months later I moved here. It's literally so I came here New Year's 2015, 2016 for 3 days. And then yeah, I just decided I was coming back and then I moved here in the middle of 2016. I considered moving to other locations as well. I didn't make like a formal pro and con list, like, but I had visited here and I was just like, it's all I needed. Ethiopia Cram says, can we ask medical things too? Ethiopia, I asked I answered medical questions for 2 hours. That's the thing, the same fucking questions repeatedly. How are the trains in Japan? The trains are reliable. They're very reliable. They come on time. And the Shinkansen, the bullet train, is very fucking expensive. So like that's the only downside of the bullet train. Otherwise, I'd go to Tokyo like all the time. It's more expensive to take a train to Tokyo than it is to fly there from where I am. I lost where I was. Here we are. Steve White's. Have you been keeping up with the NBA playoffs? I haven't. Finals? I haven't. Steve White's. I have not. I've been watching golf lately. How like beta is that? I've been literally watching golf. That's like weird. No, I was watching like basketball for like 3 months this year. Maybe up until maybe like a few weeks ago, I was watching only basketball for like maybe 3 months. Can you do a kickflip? Yeah, I can. Any plans of traveling, exploring the world? Yeah, I might go to Turkey in like a couple months. I might go to Turkey maybe next month or in August. What kind of sneakers do I have? I have Adidas high tops. I also have a pair of high tops with my logo on it that I designed in the Shopify store before I closed the store down. And I've got a pair of just like some random running shoes. I don't even know the brand actually. Just some random fucking running shoes. Ron Serrero says I look younger than 36. I'm 36 and a half. How does that sound? Reem Sham says, when is your coming up live chat about medical stuff? I don't want to. Reem, I fucking made a medical chat. This was for 2 hours fucking medical talk. That's what this was. It becomes the same fucking questions repeatedly. That's what it is. SS says, how much do we have in first? No, I'm not answering med questions right now. What's your favorite food item? Well, apart from Indian food, which I said is my favorite, I love fucking Indian food. Big naan. Okay, I talked about this. Palak paneer, spicy. But Japanese, I would say kata miso ramen. Kata miso ramen, spicy miso ramen. It's fucking amazing. Moise Escobar says, thoughts on Japan and South Korea's obsession with aesthetic plastic surgery. Why do you think it's so popular there? Well, I think that, yeah, but it's like, I mean, aren't most countries obsessed with, like, I mean, the US, like, aren't people obsessed with plastics there as well? Like, I don't think that's unique to, maybe it's just more conspicuous here because I think, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say, like, are there really statistics that say like Japan and Korea are more obsessed? I think it's just more conspicuous. Like the style of plastic surgery here is more like obvious. Like you get two camps of people. You get people who want, like, if they get plastics, they don't want people to know. Like they want to keep it very conservative and hidden. Okay, they want it to be very discreet, very minor changes where they look very very natural, but no one can tell. And whether that's what they prefer aesthetically, like genuinely, or everyone's got insecurity about appearance. Everyone does. But I mean, whether it's to the degree where they don't want people to know that they had plastics because they feel that insecure about it. But like, there's that camp of people, conservative. And then you have other people who are like, make me the fucking Hollywood Brad Pitt type stuff. And I don't care if people know. Yes, I want an extreme appearance. That's like another camp of people. And maybe Japan and Korea fall more into the latter, where like here, people are happy with like, yeah, obviously, like, of course, like they have their style of like rhinoplasty or something where it's like obvious that like they've had plastics, like, and they're okay with that. Like they're okay with that. Whereas people in the US, they might say, oh, like you can tell. Whereas here they're like, well, of course, who cares? So I mean, maybe that's where this notion you're thinking of in terms of like Japan or Korea is more obsessed. I personally, I like uh, I like girls who've had like plastic surgery. I like that. I like the appearance of plastic surgery. Can you throw me a? That's funny. Loudermilk says, "Can you throw me an opener up? A dating app opener?" Just, I don't think it matters what you say. Literally, you'll get rejected, or no matter what you say, doesn't even matter. What's my all-time favorite movie? I answer this. So I said the three favorite movies. I said Pulp Fiction, The Fifth Element, and Born Identity. Fifth Element. I really like that. The Fifth Element. I'm not answering that, Mohal. It's too rated X for this chat. Arwa says, how many breakups you had? Well, I mean, I don't even know how many relationships I've had. I have no idea. I literally have no idea. Do I play soccer? I did growing up. I played a lot of soccer growing up. I went to soccer camp growing up. Let me see. I lost where I was in the chat. Let me see. Laughed my ass off. This is a motorcycle chat. Thoughts on Blackpill and looks maxing? I think we're increasingly going in that direction. Culture is going in that direction. I think women only care about looks. I think women are willing to date men who are more plain in appearance if they're inside social circles. So, for example, a woman can be very attractive and she'll date a guy who's not so attractive, but he'll be like at her office job, or he'll be like a friend of a friend, or he'll be like someone she sees frequently from class. that's okay. But if it's someone she doesn't know, first time ever, they only care about appearance. That's my view. Personality in the male doesn't matter. Even the male's income doesn't really matter. It has to be above a huge threshold. Like you can't just have like, here's your car. It has to be like you're like above it has to be very, very like standard deviations away for it to for it to really override the female's interest in looks. How many languages do I speak? Right now, just Japanese and English. But I grew up. I mean, in school, right? We studied Spanish. I could speak Spanish with one of my ex girlfriends in Australia. Um, before I moved here. Before I moved here, like one of my girlfriends was from Colombia, and I used to speak Spanish with her, but like I'd forgotten my Spanish, and I learned Hebrew. I was bar mitzvahed, but like I'm not conversational in Hebrew. It's just like the standard like secular stuff where like you learn how to read Hebrew and you do your bar mitzvah, but like I don't um I don't actually like speak conversational Hebrew. But I could learn it because I know like the characters. Um Ethiopia Crim says, Mike, are you a Jew? I live in Israel. I grew up Jewish. I was bar mitzvahed, but like I don't like practice. Do I read novels, fiction? I don't read novels. I'm not like a literary person. I said I read Gone with the Wind, but like I'm not. I really don't like that stuff. Like I'm really not like that. Am says, what do I mean by bad things happening in my life? Well, we all have bad things, certain bad things that happen in our lives. I don't really want to talk about those bad things right now. How to get my ex back? Aldol 24 says, how to get my ex back? I can get your ex back. The way you get your ex back, it's not it shouldn't be ideal conversation for this domain, but I know how to do that. You have to go out and you have to meet other people where your behavior has zero to do with her and you have no interest in her anymore. That's what it has to be. And you have to do that as quickly as possible. And then she'll come back to you. Send her a flower bouquet with an I'm sorry, baby note. That's funny, Mustafa. That's funny. That would help in some cases. It really would. That would help in some cases. But it's not something like an actual dude who meets people would do. It's only something a dude who doesn't meet people would do, for sure. Reem Shah says, please post in the comments the next live about medicine so I don't. Dude, I mean, I was talking about medicine for the first 2 hours of this chat. So it's like, don't be like salty, right? Like, is anyone here actually salty right now that like I'm not talking about medicine? Are you guys like upset? Are you guys like, you're an asshole, Mike? You're selfish that you're not talking about medicine, right? Right? Like, is like who's like they say like this person literally wrote like please post the comments the next live at medicine so I don't miss it. Thanks, bye. Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm just joking. Reem, seriously, if you're here, I'm joking. Like, I'm not. I'm joking. What is my priority now? Mojal says, what is my priority now? About what? Joy Rahab Kalo says, have you ever looked into the Christian faith? I have not. If so, what are your thoughts? I haven't looked into it. Ron Serrero says, how's the nightlife in Osaka? It's there if you want it. Usually, what is your daily routine during the week and the weekend? I've got my unconventional hobbies. I meet a lot of people, just put it that way. I meet more people than I meet more people than like yeah, a lot of people. Ume wants to know about what is safe and me scored a book exam. I mean, Barbarella says, are those eyebrows real? I've used pencil. I got microblading and I use pencil. Sometimes you can tell if you give a fuck. If you go between my videos, there's sometimes my eyebrows are like this, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they've looked really bad too. Maybe you say, "Oh, Mike, they look fucking terrible right now." That's cool. Fuck you. Let's see. I keep getting questions wrong, even though I've been reading. Please, what should I do? What tech skill is essential for all of us to learn going forward, in your opinion? Your text, well, that's a long discussion. Everybody should learn how to should learn how to make a YouTube channel. That's important, I think. Hey, Dr. Melman, you world question? Nah, I'm not taking that right now. And you put it in fucking capitals, Mike Strongham. Strong arm. Mike Strong Arm. You're taking the exam in July. Yeah. No, I answered med questions for like 2 hours, you know? It's 5:14 a.m. here. Fuck. I can see the light coming in if I open these curtains. AP San says, haha, Cuban girl. I've only seriously dated Cuban women. My first girlfriend in college was Cuban. She was. Let me see. And I like wrote her English papers for her. That's what I did. She was in like an English. She was in like we had the requirements at college, and like I wrote her fucking papers for her because her English was like not good. So I don't know how she got into the university. Are you doing well? Gaurav says, "Am I doing well?" I am. Ahmed Khan says, Mike, don't you think life really is scary and lonely after 50s when parents are off and friends are far away? It's better to establish the support family thing. How do you know I don't do that? Or how do you know? Like, I mean, what do you I just said I have unconventional views on things. AP San says Cuban girl from Miami question mark. I bet I have a mutual friend with her. Well, aren't there like a million like Cuban girls in Miami? Jay says it's time you tried other Indian food other than naan. Okay, Jay. Well, what? Like pori? Like what? I've said I like papadum as well. I love papadum, spicy papadum. Reen Suri says, "Do you have a good community of local friends now in Japan?" Most of my friends are foreigners. I do have Japanese friends, absolutely, but like most of my friends are foreigners. Um, how come you did med school in Australia, not the US? I studied abroad in Australia when I was 20. So when I was second year at Boston, I studied abroad in Australia for a couple months. I worked at a hospital in Sydney for 2 months down there, and I decided I was going to move back to Sydney for med school. That's what happened. And there was an option at my med school. There was an option to do your first 2 years at Australia and then go to Louisiana for 2 years to do your rotations. I was the only American who wasn't doing that. I did my entire program and my master's in Australia. I wanted to be in Australia. Reen Suri says, yeah, people in US are crazy about plastic surgery. Yeah, I mean, obviously. But I mean, guys, I think, eclipse girls with it. Guys eclipse girls now. And that's because girls have very high standards now. Let's see. Any thoughts? Ali Farr says, any thoughts on psychoanalysis, Freud, Jung? Say modern neuroscience can go with some the obscurity you get with philosophy. I literally don't have any thoughts on that. I have no thoughts on psychoanalysis. Like, is that you probably wanted like a very deep like unraveling on all that? Like, I don't. Um, I did psychodynamic psychotherapy for 18 months though when I was in Australia. Like, I used to see a psych. That was actually to get over my insecurities about appearance. That was when I was in med school. I had issues with like that. That was big for me when I was in my 20s, getting over that. I grew up with a lot of negative influences about my appearance. I don't think that's unique to me, but like that was like a big thing. And so like that was like a big struggle for me in my 20s. Now I'm fine. The fact that I can talk about it is like crazy to me on like a public fucking forum. That's like nuts to me. Cause like that, I held a lot of like shame around that for like years. I thought I'd be taking that shit to the grave. Now I'm like, I don't even care. I've come a long way. Do you watch anime? If yes, what's your favorite JoJo anime? I said that. Marlene Khan says, do I have kids? Under 20 kids. Any plans visiting Israel in the summer? I should, right? I should. I've been there 4 times. What are your thoughts on the trend that uh, many that previously embraced the lifestyle of going out every night and doing pickup now moving to more? I don't believe that. If people move to quote unquote more religious pursuits after doing pickup, it's more of like an act of capitulation. It's more like you realize it hasn't worked for you, and then you decide you say I give up, and I'm just going to become quote unquote religious. Shakib says, "How did I end up in Japan?" I talked about that right now. I talked about it in this stream. I'll answer those questions in other streams again. I will. I will. But in this stream, I talked about moving to Japan. My favorite person in Hollywood. I don't have any favorite people in Hollywood. I don't follow Hollywood. Please talk about. But if we're gonna get into like celebrity gossip / drama stuff, um, you know, I think apparently Ashton Kutcher. I think he has like Wegener's. I think he's got vasculitis, maybe microscopic. No, I think he has like microscopic polyangiitis or something. And you have Bruce Willis who has Pick disease. He's got frontotemporal dementia. So you get people who, um, I respect that. Everyone's got hardships. Abdullah says yes. Please talk about medicine. Are you salty? I was talking about medicine for 2 hours here. That's what I'll do. Like I don't know. Like I didn't jump into this fucking like live stream talking about me. That's not what this was. It was 2 hours of like me literally answering your fucking same fucking questions repeatedly, the same dumb questions repeatedly, and then I switched into okay, we can talk about life outside of medicine. Is that like so? Is that so dramatic? Is that so like why are we salty? Am says, how do we sleep? How do you sleep at night? Do you require melatonin, benzo? No, I don't require any of that. I sleep really fucking easily because I don't sleep a lot. Like the number of hours I allot to sleep is like not as many as it should be. Someone wants to know if I do these live QAs for my other channel. I haven't. What's your favorite motorcycle in Japan? I don't have. Do you like NFL? Uh, yeah. I mean, like I definitely watch football. Like when it's on. Like, sure. Yeah, sure. I'll watch football. I mean, I lived in Boston. You know what I'm saying? So like, I was Patriots. Like you can call that like oh, you're a Patriots fan. I mean, like I lived in Boston. Okay. I mean, so yes, during Tom Brady's peak, that's when I lived in Boston. But I grew up in New York, but I wasn't like I didn't grow up. I never cared about like Giants or you know Jets, nothing like that. AM says I meet more people than the average consumer. Prothamesh says, "Why do you look so beautiful?" Well, thanks, dude. I need some chick to say that though. Uh, let's see. What do you think about Mike? Like, fuck you. People that went, people that want med talk track back to being a live session. It's true. Like your sense of humor. I think some people. It's fucking 5:23 a.m. here. I'm cracked out right now. Why do people Japanese work so hard? Girls have high standards, but it's retain all the concepts USMLE. Whom do I look up to / whom do you think that's a good example? Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk's a good guy. If any of you knew Gary V. Thanks, Dr. Mike. Japanese women sweeter than Hispanic women. I would say no to that. Japanese women are more submissive though overall. Come to the country of Georgia. I've never been to Georgia, but yes, I've heard you guys have wine, really good wine there. Japan. All right, so I'm just gonna end this. Malak, I love you. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. Well, this it's been about 3 hours. So, guys, um, Chat from hell. No, I didn't go to college in Miami. I went to college in Boston. All right, guys, it's 5:24. I'm cracked out. 5:24 a.m. I'm cracked out right now. I gotta head off. I'm gonna eat some chicken and then I'm gonna pass out. That's what I'm gonna do. So obviously I'll do more of these live streams. Let's see. Appreciate you guys.